But at least now it can't get much worse.
But it did get worse.
How's it going, guys? We have an update on the World of T-shirts, aka Joshua Block. He has arrived. His arrival was imminent last time we streamed, and now he has arrived. He's been in Japan for a few days. He's already found the strong zeros, which is not a great, look, these things are dangerous. You have to understand. You have to understand. These are not good for you. But I did mention a little bit about World of T-shirts in the previous streams where we talked about DBR 666, Ice Poseidon, and the arrests that are happening for IRL nuisance streamers, also known as Meiwaku streamers, which means nuisance, in Japan. And while their shenanigans are frustrating and they deserve to get deported or be jailed and arrested, and many of them are, and they're scattering like rice, Sorry, I must be hungry. They're scattering like rats at the moment, which is very funny. This man is in grave danger. And I know this sounds a bit clickbaity, but he could literally die in Japan, because I know someone that did die in Japan for the very reasons that I'll be talking about tonight. But who is World of T-shirts? We have to kind of go back and explain a little bit. Here is, this is from the World of Clips channel. I think they just clip all of Josh's content or whatever. Joshua Block crashes out in Japan. Bro could easily get arrested any moment. And he did get arrested. So let's take a look at what actually happened. And let me know how the audio sounds. He's a very loud individual, by the way.
I didn't see it. It wasn't me.
Who did? Yes, you fucking did. I'm from the fucking Bronx. Yes, you did. I ain't 400 grand fucking year.
We were referring to some of the things he's saying, but let's just play this through first.
I'll fucking murder you. I ain't 400 grand.
All right, so there's a couple things we need to unpack here. First of all, you'll hear this phrase a lot in Joshua's story, put the fries in the bag. This statement allegedly triggers him to the point where he'll start beating you, hitting you, and doing all sorts of things. And you'll also notice that he bites his hand here. And you may see he's acting erratic. This isn't the regular, typical live streamer. This man is severely mentally challenged. And you might say to me, well, aren't all live streamers severely mentally challenged? And you'd be correct. But this man is clinically mentally challenged. And it's not a great combination. Basically, to kind of sum up his career, and we're going to go through and see his history in a bit more detail as we do. But the brief synopsis of this, to understand what's happening, is this man has some sort of mental problems. He started on TikTok being very awkward, and that's the appeal. It's kind of like how people like Review Bro. He's kind of very weird. This guy is also very weird, and it was kind of very normal for a while. He would just freak out. He would scream. He's noisy. It's kind of like lol so random content. It's kind of almost like, and it's almost a little bit like Chris Chan for Zoomers, I would say. But then he hit 21. He hit 21 and he started to develop a very, very bad drinking problem. And there's actually a TikTok account that covers how much he drinks, and it's actually outrageous. I think he put away 500,000 calories of alcohol in the last year, according to this very autistic and very accurate, apparently, logger of everything that he's drinking. But that's the basic formula of his streams. A bunch of people found him and they exploit him. Like, this is actually a very sad story, in my opinion, because they're basically exploiting a mentally challenged man. But like he says in the clip, he makes 400,000 a year, allegedly, on TikTok. So maybe he's doing it right anyway. But he's making a lot of problems in Japan so far. And I think that his life could be in danger, as I'll go on to tell you. So there you've got see the first few parts. And that's kind of like his entire thing, is he's loud, noisy, and the hilarity comes from him having public freakouts. It's like every stream he crashes out. And that's the kind of the entertainment. Now, let's that's just a regular Twitter account. Now, he's actually already been arrested. He's already been arrested in Japan. You can see from this, and you might see this a bit later, but this is actually in Shinjuku next to Golden Guy. And me and Max, if you may have seen the other channel, we filmed a video here. So this is a very, very busy place, very popular nightlife area where there's about 200 little bars. It's really cool to go there and just drink and interact with the locals. But you can see here his public spurgout has has landed in him having a Japanese man citizen arresting him. And you can citizen arrest people in Japan. However, you're supposed to use minimal force. Now, the force used in this clip may be excessive, but I can tell you that the Japanese cops are going to side with the Japanese man. This guy's going to be perfectly fine. But let's take a look. Let's have a look. Oh, they got their music playing. So on this one. So I'll mute it. Yeah, unfortunately, I'll try and find a better version of this. But he's screaming about being abducted and all sorts of things. And as he goes around, you can see him, there's like a bunch of Japanese people are like banding together to grab him. And why are they doing this? This is the worst time. This is absolutely the worst time that World of T-shirts could come to to Japan, because obviously there's a lot of other issues. But first, Trucker Rob with a $5 says, well, howdy, meme. How's it going, Trucker Rob? Big support from the last stream. Thank you very much. And thank you for the $5 tonight. So let's see if we can find a couple other of these clips. All right. So I'm going to go over to the Chinese gooseberry farming website, because spoiler alert, Kiwis aren't actually from New Zealand. And let's see if we got some of these. They've got a lot of the clips that I want to see, which shouldn't have all the annoying things. I think it starts from this page. Let's see. I think it was on this page, right? This is when he arrives in Japan. I think it must be the next page. But this is like a typical Joshua Block clip, like from the old days before he started getting drinking a lot.
Yeah, in New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do. Now you're in New York.
So you can see a few things. Like obviously he has some sort of impairment, and it kind of started off kind of wholesome. Like he doesn't really move his face very much, and that was kind of the appeal. Is like it's almost like awkwardness maxing or something that people seem to really enjoy. But let's take a look at his early life. And when I was doing the research for this, I found a video that is absolutely insane, and that is his absolute degenerate manager called MrBased. And this guy, holy shit, he's such a slime ball. If we've got time towards the end of the stream, I think we'll watch that. But it's like an hour-long expose. It's really fascinating to see how this guy who like basically, oh man, he started with like, oh man, it's wild. You'll be very shocked. But let's see. So who is Joshua Block? He was born in 2001, and very little is known about his early life. Like many other people on the site, Joshua suffers from one or more unknown mental illnesses, and it's very likely he is somewhere on the autistic spectrum. Despite being born in 2001, he graduated in 2021. So it took him 20 years. He actually did post his graduation on TikTok, which was, I believe, his primary website, but he was held back for a couple of years because of his own impairments. And yes, all the weird people are called Josh for some reason. For some reason. Let's see. So he went to high school. I'm not going to go through that many details of that. I don't want to expose too much of his early life. It's not really that relevant. But he first recorded his online presence on his website, World of T-shirts, on a cafe press. It's kind of like, and you can see it here. It's actually kind of like almost endearing. It's just got like, it's just like a regular T-shirt shop that's on cafe press. Like, I love my wife. It's like boomer stuff. Slow runners make fast runners look good. You're welcome. And he was kind of doing this, and some people suggested that this one's kind of cute actually. It's like a little baby's thing, and it says, "I'm going to appeal this case all the way to grandma." Yeah, it's kind of endearing, you know. If he just like did this shit, it would probably be fine. But he joins TikTok and he gains quite a few followers, and he's getting very popular until like the fish incident, basically. And he was just kind of doing the awkward posting. But then eventually he went on to do this video where he caught a bluegill, and he claims it was dead, but in the video he stomps on the fish on the ground, and most people think it was alive. So that's kind of when the audience started to turn against him. And I believe his TikTok was removed at that point, and he has several other TikToks. He was like jumping between them, and he became very unpopular at this point, but he did get back his original TikTok account eventually. Now, another thing that made him very unpopular is that when people would show up in his live streams to take photos, he would charge them $50, which I think is like actually pretty interesting, I guess. But yeah, he was charging them $50, and he was saying this weird statement like, well, if they take a picture with me for free, then they're going to get famous for nothing. Like they should at least like, and it was a very weird thing. It was like, is he holding people back sort of thing? But it made him very unpopular for a while. And it seems like a large part of his audience now are basically people that want to see him suffer. And everyone around him, like the MrBased guy, and I assume the guys he's with Japan in right now, are exploiting him, in my opinion. They've found a cash cow. They've found someone that they can use as a tool. And I think it's kind of sickening, to be honest. But it's kind of like very sad. But at the same time, he is, regardless of his impairments, he's still responsible for his own actions as an adult. And I don't know. It's like one of those weird things, right? So I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it. But obviously, I don't like him causing trouble. Now, he's got some other stuff, like he's got an OnlyFans. At one point, he like rented out to New York Billboard, like the digital billboards, which can be between $5,000 a day and $50,000 a day. And he's kind of proclaiming himself like the king of New York. So he's like a very interesting and very recent lolcow. And that's why I call him kind of like the Zoomer Christian, because he's very well documented and very popular with like the young peoples, right? So here you have the fish incident where he like, I don't think you can actually see it here, but it's just like this. And so he grabs a bluegill, he slams it on the ground, and then he just like stomps on it. And you can kind of see that he's like gleefully happy. So he's like really like happy, and he's just like very low IQ, obviously. And abusive animals usually is kind of like an indicator of some other things that are quite disturbing. So I think that's why the kind of the public opinion of him kind of soured at that point. But it goes on, like he kind of does all these weird things. That's probably all we need to know from his backstory until he starts drinking. And that's when things go really crazy, like insanely crazy. But we'll jump back into a second. And let me see if I've got a clip of him actually being arrested. So we'll jump back to now a few days ago. He arrives in Japan. Now, this is called a Strong Zero, and it has 0 sugar, but it's the double lemon, which this is the worst flavor of Strong Zero, by the way. Just letting you know. And these things are typically cost $1, like American. And they are usually like 500 milliliters. I don't know what that is in freedom units. But it's like a double. It's a tall boy. And they are typically 9% alcohol. Now, I think that these ones have actually changed to 7%. Yeah, it says 7% there, but it's backwards, obviously. Because people were getting so drunk and degenerate in Japan, they decided to wind them back a bit. And now it's very difficult. It's about a pint. Yeah. It's very... My favorite flavor, the double plum, is getting harder and harder to find. So it's very sad for me. They call this, like, as a Japanese resident myself, they call this the Gaijin killer, because there's a group of people that come over to Japan, only drink Strong Zeros, and they kind of destroy their entire life based around this drink. And it's kind of like a meme and everything. But, you know, like if you want to like pregame, like one of these is actually pretty good. And, you know, they're I like them. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to admit it. I like the Strong Zeros. But... all right, so we saw this one where he crashes out here. Let me get a couple of more of these. Is this the one with the music? Yeah, that's the one with the music. So we saw that one. Let me see. Where did I put these? Here we go. Here's the clips that I wanted. All right. This should be without the music. So let's take a look at this. Apple flavor is the best.
I can't breathe! I can't
Well, he can't breathe. Okay.
breathe!
You even have a Japanese waifu coming over to help her, and I believe she's like a waiter, but she seems to be wearing like an apron. So she's probably working at the... And I know exactly where this is happening, by the way. Why don't we break this up? I'll show you. This is happening in Kabukicho. So Kabukicho is kind of regarded as like... Well, actually, it's like next to, adjacent to Kabukicho. Kabukicho is kind of seen as like the nightlife / red light area of Japan, but actually it's pretty tame, to be honest. There's some touts, there's some weird shops and everything, but it's actually not that bad. Now I believe it's right about where it's outside Golden Guy. A guy, like it's like GAI, that means like street, Golden Street. Okay, here we go. Actually, I'll go back so you can see it. Okay, there we go. Here we go. So this is where it's happening. Oops, in Tokyo. So Shinjuku Station. Shinjuku Station is like, and this is the largest station in all of Japan. Shinjuku Station is right here. Approximately 4 to 5 million people go through this station every day, which is basically the population of New Zealand. So it's a very high trafficked area. You've got the Godzilla head and Kabukicho gates over here, and Golden Guy is down here. So in these 6 streets, which are very kino and very photogenic, is all these cool little bars. And it looks better at this is the exact street that he's actually on in this video, but obviously at daytime. So maybe this woman came out of this bar. These little streets here, you can see this is in Japan. It says Shinjuku Golden Guy. And this is where me and Max filmed our Tokyo nightlife video for the other channel. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. They've got all these little places. So all of these are like little bars. And the important thing to note, though, is that these are actually private streets. You might get confused a lot in Japan, but a lot of streets are actually private, and you can't just do shenanigans on them. And in one of these clips, he's actually seen smashing, like punching his fist into the wall of one of these places while he, prior to him getting abducted by the police. This is where he claims here. You can actually see the Golden Gate Street right there. Let's have a look.
This is the best part of my Japan trip. This is fucking mad. I've been here for a month. This is the best part of it.
All right, so there, the police are investigating him, and I believe I have one more photo I wanted to show before we get kind of into that story, like the breakdown. Those are the previous ones I don't need. Let's see. Okay, here, I think it's these ones. This one's actually kind of recent. Here, this is the one. So this is inside Golden Guy. So you can see him biting his hand. He's probably like off his rocker drunk. And you see him like punching the wall. And again, this is private street, private residences. Well, they're like shops, but people own them. They're like, you know, you have to buy like a little, it's your property or whatever. He's trying to break this glass door to this little Japanese bar. And a lot of these places don't actually like foreigners as well. And it's not a lot. It's like 10% of them. But they say like, look, we can't speak English. If you come here, you're not going to have a good time. We're not going to give you service, so just go somewhere else. And that's fine. That's fine. There's like 200 other bars. But he's actually destruction of property and disturbing the peace, which is a big deal in Japan. But you can see he's having a complete spurg out. And these people around him, who are allegedly his friends, in my opinion, are absolutely just using him and exploiting him for their own benefit, which is quite sickening, honestly.
I dropped something.
And there's also a lot of signs around here. Like as I said, it's like a private area. There's a lot of signs talking about how, like, please no filming, you know, no creating a no troublemaking, basically. So they get very angry in that area in particular. Now, he was also seen in Kyoto. So I believe he's actually in Kyoto right now, which is pretty close to where I am. So I don't know. He might be in Osaka tomorrow. Maybe I should go say hi to him and tell him to knock it off. I don't know. This is in Kyoto. This is along Sanjo Dori. This is like the nightlife area of Kyoto. But you can see he has like English people that are following him around and harassing him and saying and he's like throwing drinks at them and things like that. And the reason he's doing this is because they told him to put the fries in the bag. And he keeps talking about how he makes 400 grand a year. Okay, so yep, that's just that's Kyoto. Let me see. Did I have any other ones? He also, I'm trying to find one where he punches a guy. Oh, is this the one where he kicks people? Pray for Joshua Block. He is seen kicking multiple Japanese people. Could be getting locked up any moment for multiple counts of domestic battery. So this is, again, this is back in Tokyo. This is Golden Guy.
Put the fries in the bag!
So you see, every time they say that phrase, it's like his trigger phrase.
Oh, what the fuck?
And it's my understanding that people have also followed him to Japan just to mess with him and troll him. But you see, he just starts kicking around the people, having like rage activated. All right. Let me see. Where is now? This is one. Oh wait, there's one other one. Let me see. That's kind of exposing what I didn't want to show just yet. But looking for one where he punches, and this is him there as well. Like he's like obviously This is like a very famous painting, you know, the bent over looking at the neck, whatever. Kind of funny, actually, if it wasn't so sad. Let me see if I can find this one real quick, where he punches this guy in the head. Although it's not necessarily that important. Let me see if I can quickly find it. All right, well, I won't bother with that, but he basically punched a guy in the head, and I believe it was this guy, and this guy also shows that how he bit him. So he's actually like a feral rabbit animal, like he's out of control. And this will all wind back into what I'm coming to soon. It's the reason I'm showing you all of this.
What the fuck? He bit me.
So he's actually just biting people. Now, obviously, these people are winding him up. They're traveling with him, but it's going to paint a picture of why he's unstable and why, when I say Joshua Block, World of T-shirts might die in Japan, this is all coming back into it because I know someone that did die in Japan because of similar behavior. All right. And last part before we get into some more stuff, but you can see here, Joshua Block is currently on the phone with the US Embassy, could be facing 10 years in prison for threatening to murder Japanese people with bloody murder. So in the first clip we saw, he did say he's going to murder all of you. And he has been taken to the local police station. This is a koban. So these things are all over Japan. And whoever is talking on this, whoever's posting the World of Clips account, I don't think he actually posted any proof that he was talking to the US Embassy. But typically when you're taken to one of these places, you're either going to call the embassy or more likely, and what I think is the case, is they decided to call up the English translator. And do I have the, what is this? If you remember when Johnny Somali was arrested, right? So this is footage of when Johnny Somali was arrested in Japan, in Osaka. They arrested him. They jumped out of nowhere. Then they put a phone in his ear, and that was the English translator who was talking to. I think it's much more likely that he was talking to an English translator in that in those photos. Sorry. Quite a lot of tabs here. So I think it's more likely that he's talking to an English translator if he's in the police station. And this statement that he could be facing 10 years imprisonment, this is the maximum sentence. This is very unlikely. It's like how Nick Recator could get 25 years for drug possession. That's never really going to happen unless it's like the worst of the worst people. There's like multiple charges and everything. But the more likely answer is that he would be deported or incarcerated for a short time while prosecutors investigate him, like what happened with Johnny Somali. But there's a much greater threat to what could happen to him now. And that is that he could be committed. And I've talked about this many times, but being committed in Japan is a very nasty thing. So actually, I'll give you, before we go into that, like what actually happens when you get committed. And that's the more likely thing. Actually, no, I guess we'll go into committed, right? What happens when you get committed right now. So this man here, I doubt any one of you have ever known him. This man is called Kelly Savage. So Kelly Savage and I were classmates. And I didn't know him that well. Like I saw him almost every day. We talked about various things. He was a very friendly guy, very nice guy, but he was very good friends with my friends. And we were both in New Zealand at the same time. And he was an American, actually. And he got his New Zealand citizenship, but he kept his American citizenship as well. Now, he moved to Japan in 2014. And he went to a very nice little place, a nice little town. This was, what was this called? I can't remember the name of the town. Where was it? It's kind of, he went to Shibushi. This is Shibushi in Kagoshima, which is a very end of Japan, very nice, kind of warmer place in Japan. The problem happened is that Kelly had mental problems. And, when I heard he moved to Japan, but like I said, we didn't talk that much after university. But he was excited, and I thought I might see him sometime. But unfortunately, he died. And he died at the hands of Japan's psychiatric professionals. So there's actually, you can see this is on Wikipedia, but I'm going to, the Wikipedia story is a little bit different to what his family has said publicly, but we'll take a look. We'll skip his early life, obviously. But death. In early 2017, Savage began taking his psychiatric medication irregularly. In April 2017, psychiatric symptoms began appearing. He took medical leave to visit his brother in Yokohama. Now, Yokohama is the second largest city in Japan. And it's about 40 minutes away from where World of T-Shirts is right now. In fact, many people think that Yokohama is actually part of Tokyo, but it's its own separate city in Kanagawa Prefecture. But it's like 1:30 to 40-minute train ride away from where he is happening right now. So he was taken to, he went to Yokohama City to see his brother, who was working there at, I think it was the Keio University. And as he stopped taking his medication, he started to have more and more manic states. He entered a manic psychotic state and was compulsory admitted to a psychiatric hospital, Yamato Hospital in Kanagawa Prefecture, on April 30th. Savage did not respond to has not reported as having harmed himself or anyone else. And he did not exhibit severe symptoms upon his arrival in the hospital. It was a voluntary admission. Well, kind of. It's like his brother, as I understand it, his brother suggested that he go there because they were losing ways to control him. But it seems like he was much more reasonable than how Joshua Block, World of T-Shirts, was. Nevertheless, on admission, he was tied to a bed with restraints on both his wrists, his ankles, and the waist. Savage's family was not allowed to visit from May 3rd to 7th because it was Golden Week. This is a Japanese holiday that lasts about a week. And there was not enough personnel to allow for family visits. Now, this is actually pretty common in a lot of Japanese hospitals. I know a guy that just had a baby, not BP, but another guy that had a baby. And his wife's staying at a ladies' clinic, which is what happens when women have babies in Japan. He can visit his wife for 20 minutes a day. Or like 10, actually, no, it's 10 minutes a day. He literally has enough time to get in, say hello, and then leave. So even at the best of times, in the best of situations, it can be very difficult for family members to visit when they're in inpatient situations. And this is a psychiatric hospital. It's not like a ladies' clinic, right? If you're forcibly restrained in a high security area, it's even less likely that you'll be able to help your friends or your family. And in Kelly's case, his brother had difficulty getting access to him. If World of T-Shirts get admitted to a Japanese psychiatric hospital, there's zero chance that those weird hang-ons, those leeches that are getting attention from him or money from him, whatever, are going to be able to help him. And they're probably going to scatter like roaches because they don't want to get in trouble in Japan. He spent 10 days, Kelly spent 10 days in nearly continuously in restraints. His breathing and heartbeat eventually stopped. CPR was administered until he could be transferred until Yamato City Hospital, General Hospital, and he was put on life support. At this point, he was a vegetable, by the way. There's actually, the family posted a more detailed one that we're going to talk about, which actually shows you the horrors of what it's like. This is not great. This is basically torture, in my opinion. It's speculated that he died of perhaps deep vein thrombosis, but it's also alleged that maybe it was the cocktail of drugs that they had him on. So that's what it says from the Wikipedia page. So let's go into the actuals. This is by the New Zealand Radio, Deathbed: The Story of Kelly Savage, and this is actually pretty harrowing. You can see Kelly there, and he was I never knew he had depression at all. Apparently, it turned out it developed when he was 17. He always seemed to be very positive guy, very happy guy, very happy to hang around with him. Also, Examoon joined as member. Thank you very much appreciated for the stream. So let's see, and I'll skip over some of this because it's like his whole mother's story about his entire life. But I want to get to the salient points of this. So we'll jump down to Tied Down. And this is the Yamato Hospital. And this actually reminds me of something. So I'll give you before we get into this, and this is kind of like I said, kind of sad. I'll give you an not important, but an interesting maybe insight into Japan's culture and a bit of a language lesson as well. So there it is. All right. You may be familiar with this Japanese character. All right, there you go. You may have recognized this. I wonder if any Americans can see this. You would have seen it in a supermarket. Any guesses? We'll see. You'll probably most likely see it next to this kanji. So these are Chinese characters, and Japan has three sets of language, three sets of writing, like hiragana, katakana, and kanji, which are Chinese characters. So this one is, someone got it, wa, and this one is gyu. Wagyu. So if you've ever seen Japanese beef, Wagyu, this is the kanji for it. Why is this important? What does this have to do with psychiatric patients? Well, wa in this context means Japanese. So Japanese beef. So it's kind of like a pet peeve of mine when people say, oh, I'm eating Wagyu. It doesn't really mean anything. It just means you're eating a cow from Japan, or typically a cow that has DNA from Japan. So it's a bit of a scam. Like if you see someone talking about how they get great Wagyu, but they don't actually talk about what type of Wagyu it is, or they don't talk about it's like it's A qualities or whatever, like if it's A5 or something, they're basically being fleeced by their butcher. Not to say that you can't get great Wagyu in America. It's just it's a bit of a branding thing, right? But the important part of this isn't the beef part, isn't the gyu part. It's the wa part. Now, one thing about wa, apart from it meaning Japanese, it can also mean harmony and peace. So that's one of the things that's frustrating about Japanese for a lot of people, is that a lot of the characters have different meanings and sounds. So in the context of wa, harmony and peace, there's a bit of a meme in Japan, which is defending the wa, defending the peace, defending the harmony. This is very important to Japanese society. You can do a lot of bad things in Japan, provided you do not disturb the peace, you do not disturb the wa. And that's kind of, you'd think that's like typical for every country, but Japan takes it very, very seriously. And this is why nuisance streamers are getting such attention in Japan, is because primarily they go out to make disturbing the peace their entire content. And this is what gives me the most concern for World of T-shirts, is because of all the annoying live streamers. You've got Johnny Somali making noise in a restaurant or on a train, or like walking onto construction sites. You've got Ice Poseidon and his crew walking around, starting fights in the street. Those are very localized incidents. They do disturb the peace, and they do disturb other people, and they are breaking the law. But it's not as noisy and, I guess, flamboyant as what we're seeing from World of T-shirts. So he's making himself a target immediately. He's disturbing the wa in every situation, and that's his only content. Like all the other live streamers, they probably have the presence of mind to start relaxing when the heat comes on, when the cops come on, right? I don't think that World of T-shirts is capable of doing this. And actually, kind of interesting point. In the background here, you can see this is Yamato Byoen. So this is the Yamato Hospital. So again, this is another reading of the kanji over there. You can see it right there. It's the same one. So tied down. So we'll jump back to see what it was like for Kelly. Let me see. In New Zealand, I'll zoom this in a little bit. There we go. In New Zealand, if a person dies in a psychiatric hospital, the death must be reported by the coroner, and by law, an inquest must be held. In Japan, there is no such law. In fact, it's illegal to tie people down in restraints like this in Japan for extended periods of times, but they keep doing it. When Kelly died after being restrained at Yamato Psychiatric Hospital in private facility in Kanagawa Prefecture, there was no external investigation. In order for one to be held, the doctors, the hospital's doctors, nurses, and management staff would have to report themselves to MedSafe, Japan's Medical Accident Investigation Authority. Perhaps unsurprisingly, despite repeated requests from the Savage family for the hospital to do so, Kelly's death was not reported as being out of the ordinary. In a letter to the family as part of the reasoning for not reporting Kelly's death, Yamato Hospital denies having restrained the 27-year-old for 10 days, saying he was released from time to time and only restrained when necessary. There is no evidence to support he was ever taken out of his restraints. From what the family has said, this is absolutely a lie. The section of this medical records have been viewed by the New Zealand radio, and they contradict this statement. They say that Kelly was restrained the entire time he was in the hospital. The prolonged use of medical restraints in psychiatric care, like the ones used on Kelly, is illegal in Japan, except under extreme, unavoidable circumstances. They still do it, though. If the patient is a risk to themselves or around those around them, for example, so if you're causing a disturbance, if you can't stop, you can't settle down, if you keep biting people, if you keep hitting people, you're very likely to be restrained like this. Kelly was tied down in a bed for 10 days. The straps were so tight they left marks on his body. His family says he was so heavily sedated he had trouble breathing, eating, and speaking. He had a high temperature and was being treated with antibiotics. Was he in really such a state that he posed a risk for himself and for the 240 hours he spent at the hospital? Kelly's older brother, Patrick, says no. He was with Kelly when he was committed to the hospital by two psychiatrists, one of whom was the hospital's director, Kazuhiko Ishii. Kelly's mental health began to deteriorate in early 2017 on April 25th. He traveled from the southern part of Japan, where he worked as an English teacher, to Yokohama to stay with Patrick, an associate professor in the Faculty and Environment of Information Studies at Keio University. Kelly needed some time to get on track, but rather than getting better, he got worse. Patrick says his behavior became manic, very much like the behavior of World T-shirts, very manic when he gets triggered by those events. At one point, he suddenly jumped up and ran outside. I followed him and I ran downstairs. He grabbed some stuff on the convenience store shelf and then he put it back. He was darting around, acting really bizarre. I managed to get him to come back to the apartment and to get him to go back to his room, but he just seemed like he was getting more and more, not in a good place. Does this behavior sound familiar? It's almost the same manic behavior that you're seeing in these clips that I showed you. By the morning of the 30th of April, Kelly was screaming, moving furniture and pulling rugs, and no one, not even Kelly, Patrick, nor their mother or their father Mike, who was visiting New Zealand from the time, had slept for close to 24 hours. When Patrick called an ambulance service for help, they refused to come, so at last he resorted to the police. When they arrived, Kelly tried to escape and took 8 officers to restrain and handcuff him. Once he was in custody, Patrick says he calmed down and eventually was taken to the hospital. He was still paranoid, but he wasn't trying to struggle. Kelly was put in a wheelchair and taken to a locked ward on the 2nd floor of the hospital, where he was wheeled in to a 3-by-5 meter room. Kelly complied with the instructions, got out of the wheelchair and laid down on the bed. Patrick signed a form consenting for the pay of the pajamas and the adult diapers. So that's another detail of it. This is actually like really horrible treatment. Like I said, there's actually a picture, I think, of this is how they had him restrained. So it looks like he's on actually, this may be just the regular hospital. Sorry. I think this is actually when they have him on life support. But hold on, there was a picture here I wanted to show, which is this is what the restraints look like. It looks like something out of like a Hannibal Lecter movie. So they put you in an adult diaper because you're going to be shitting yourself for the next few days. And in Kelly's case, it was 10. And they usually put in a catheter and they feed you through a tube. Honestly, to me, this is probably my idea of hell. I don't think that like a few days of this, I think would break me. Like, holy shit. Imagine not being able to move, not being able to open your mouth and scream because you've got tubes feeding you and you're just shitting in yourself for 10 days. It's inhumane. This is like, there's a lot of great things about Japan. Their relationship with mental health is not one of them. There's a few things that are very bad. And this sort of treatment, well, shut up. It's worth the Rings of Power. Okay. A bit of levity is always helpful in these sort of darker stories. So thank you for that. All right, so I'll go back up to where we were. Where were we? Sorry, there's a bit of a long arm. Okay, here we are. Let's see. Similar restraints were placed around his ankle and wrist, preventing his ability to move almost entirely. Patrick and Mike thought they were helping him by putting him in the hospital, but they had no idea it was a death sentence. The concrete room, which contained only a bed and a metal toilet bowl, was locked, and Kelly was left alone. Patrick was allowed to see his brother briefly 2 days later on May 2nd, but was not allowed again for the next 7 days. In the meantime, the hospital he called the hospital daily. I would ask how he was doing and asked if they'd taken the restraints off. They kept saying no. Let me see. We can probably skip past that. Let's see. So we go into the records. Let's see. On May 5th at 2:30 p.m., Kelly was described as being drowsy and snoring loudly. If spoken to, the patient occasionally responds with yes. These are the hospital notes I've got copies of. Otherwise, the patient responds by nodding. It is not trying to get up and there is no restless behavior. But 2 hours later, the exact same comment in May 1 appears in the notes. In a state of psychomotor excitation with brief significant relentlessness, hyperactivity, and explosiveness. There is a significant risk of the patient being injured if not treated. The patient's trunk and limbs are restrained. So they're claiming that he's struggling, basically. There's one point in here that's kind of really interesting that I want to get to as well. Let's see. They're talking about, this is all about how the records mismatch what they were reporting. Let me see. So then they talk about why why they contradict. So in the contradictory statements are evidence that someone in the hospital is lying, says Yokohama-based human rights lawyer Nobu Sasaki, who has worked with the Savage family. And he says that the evidence is not enough to trigger an independent investigation into Kelly's death. The Savage family would like to sue the hospital to see justice, and even then, victory is unlikely. The family has decided against getting involved in a long-out legal battle. Legal battles in Japan are very difficult, and the entire burden is on you. Even if you win, you still have to pay your own fees and things like that. The case the patients have won against psychiatric hospitals are few because the government and the people of Japan support Japanese psychiatry. And this is the same issue that is a problem with the legal system, because the Japanese legal system is very draconian, and a lot of people just admit to guilt because they've got a 90% conviction rate. Well, how do they have that? Because they just lock you in a box, a lot like the one that they locked in this hospital, and they wait until you confess. If you can last them out like 1 to 2 months, then maybe you can get away with it. But at what cost? You're right. But the Japanese public sees no problem in this because they assume, well, naturally, everyone that's in prison is a bad guy. So why would we question this? And it's the same thing with hospitals, like mental hospitals. Like, well, of course, if they're crazy, then the doctor knows best. And the doctor has basically all the power he needs to just keep someone restrained indefinitely. It's kind of crazy when you look at it. And a lot of foreigners forget this. Like a lot of the live streamers, they come over to Japan, they forget this. They're like, because Japan can just hold you for like, typically it's 3 weeks, the maximum, but then they can redo it a couple times. So it can be something like 60 days. And you don't actually have any rights during that time. They just take everything away from you. You might not even get a lawyer for 30 days. It's crazy. You're just in solitary confinement at the mercy of some very nasty Japanese prosecutors. The United Nations Committee Against Torture has repeatedly raised concerns about Japan's private psychiatric hospitals and psychiatrics' powers to issue detention orders and the lack of sufficient judicial controls over the process. In 2007, the committee also noted concerns around management and private mental health institutions and the management and complaints of patients relating to the acts of torture or ill treatment. I'm not sure if they mentioned in this one, but there's kind of a reason for this, and that's because Japan has universal healthcare. And psychiatric costs, like basically how it works in Japan is 90% of all of your medical costs are covered by insurance. But these private mental hospitals, if you stay longer, they can charge more. So they actually have a financial incentive to keep you there as a patient for longer and longer and longer. And now Kelly's case wasn't actually the only person that was restrained like this. So this is just the New Zealand people, I believe, as well. Catherine Morris, she chose death. This one's pretty dark. As a teenager, Catherine Morris, glossy brown curls and wild smile reminded her mother of Mallory Morris or the actress Kate Winslet. But when Marilyn flew from Auckland to visit her cherished eldest daughter at a psychiatric hospital in Japan, Catherine's eyes were sunken and her complexion was sallow. They had deadened my brain, she told her mother. It was October 27th, 2003, 5 days after Catherine had been involuntarily admitted to Narita Red Cross Hospital. This is the hospital pretty close to where you land when you come to Japan. So you might be thinking, like when I showed you that picture earlier of where Kelly was staying in Japan, it was like a nice countryside location. You're like, well, that's the countryside hospital, surely. These hospitals where these terrible things are happening are right in Tokyo. Okay, these are what they got. These are the best. This is the best treatment you're going to get. It only gets worse from outside of the city. You can't chat with automated moderation. Just be clever. There's no one's censoring your messages. Just be a bit smarter in what you're saying. Why do all these? This is actually a good question. I might come back on this one later. Sorry. So where were we? Okay. So she arrived at Narita Red Cross Hospital during a severe psychiatric episode. When Marilyn arrived, her 27-year-old daughter had just woken from a 4-day stupor. She was loaded with antipsychotics, restrained at her waist, ankles, and wrists, wearing a diaper, a urinary catheter, and blue uniform pajamas. Basically a prison uniform. And like, again, that's just another thing that's kind of like horrible in this story is that the nurses have to like stick a catheter up your holes while you're shitting yourself so that you can also piss yourself while you're shitting yourself. It's honestly like sounds basically worse than death if you're like that for a long time. Like a week of that, holy shit. If I couldn't move, that would actually just be torture. Marilyn says she understood Catherine needed to be sedated because she was exhausted. Her overwrought brain needed to recover, but she did not think it was necessary for her daughter to be tied down. Strong sedatives, Marilyn says, ought to have been enough. Catherine had been living in Japan for only 3 months when she became manic. She didn't sleep for 10 days and was hospitalized. The young teacher was working at a school in Hamamatsu, a coastal city south of Tokyo. At 24, Catherine had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Her mother, a registered nurse, says Catherine never accepted her illness and mostly refused to take lithium that she was prescribed. It's also very difficult to get drugs in Japan, like almost anything without a prescription. And this is one of the things you have to really worry about when you come to Japan. Like getting caught with weed is basically either you get deported immediately or it's 5 years in prison. A lot of people bring over prescription drugs, and if you have less than a month's supply, sometimes they're lax about it, but more often than not, they are not. And things like Ritalin are just straight up banned in Japan. So Ritalin, Adderall, things like that. You just cannot get them in Japan. Let me see. Inside the locked ward at Narita Red Cross Hospital, Catherine's room was small and austere. A clock hung in one dull white wall and another. The locked window was so opaque that nothing was visible through it. Marilyn noted the calendar tracked on the wall, and inside it found Catherine's handwriting scrawled in a pencil across the pages, forming the sentence, "Get me out of here. It was heartbreaking," her mother said. Catherine's restraints were removed after 4 days in the hospital, and by the 3rd of November, she was home in New Zealand, attending regular appointments with a psychiatric professional in Auckland, that's in New Zealand, where her family lived. But by the 5th of January, she was back in Japan. After 2 weeks after her abrupt departure from the family home, Marilyn was horrified to find her daughter's full bottle of lithium tablets in a bathroom cabinet. "Do not stop taking the medicine," the label read. By May 2005, Catherine was again severely unwell, telling her mother of reoccurring nightmares and the terror of returning to New Zealand when her teaching contract expired in August. She feared rehospitalization, believing that she would be given a lobotomy and would die alone in a hospital bed. When Marilyn asked Catherine how much lithium she was taking, she told that she was taking half the prescribed dose, she told. The truth, she found out, was none. It was autumn in Auckland, and Marilyn still remembers the clothes she was wearing the day of May 6, when she sat down at the kitchen table to read the newspaper. And it was about 9 p.m. when she heard a knock on the door. Her husband, Ian, answered. It was 2 police officers. They asked Marilyn if she was Catherine's mother, and then whether Catherine was in Japan. On May 5th at 10:43 p.m., they said she had stepped in the path of an oncoming train. So basically, like, obviously this woman should have been taking her medication or something else. But faced with either going back into the restraints, she decided to jump in front of a train, which is a very common form of self-deletion in Japan, which goes to show you some of the actual horrors of going back into these places. Like, it's not fun. It's really, really horrifying, the idea of actually staying in these places. And like, these are for what it seems to be very normal people as well. Like, obviously they've all got problems, but from what I saw of Kelly, what I knew of Kelly, he was a pretty normal guy until obviously this psychotic break. And he was even admitted, by his own family members. So the question is, what happens when somebody is combative and aggressive and perhaps alcohol deprived, as World of T-Shirts, gets taken in by the police? He doesn't speak Japanese. His friends aren't going to help him because they want to do it for either content or they don't want to get in trouble. There's a very high likelihood that they'll either throw him in a cell where he'll just start punching the walls and self-harming himself, right? Or they'll decide to commit him for his own good. When he gets committed, he's not going to stop struggling. You saw what he was like with the Japanese person that was citizens arresting him. He's going to get restrained like this. This is the fate of what likely will happen with World of T-Shirts if he keeps acting a fool like this in Japan. It's not a game. People think that Japan's like really soft place. Oh, they just let everyone. No, it's actually not like that. Like, people forget with the Johnny Somali case that oftentimes the process is the punishment, to use Andrew's words from his Johnny Somali Korean streams. Johnny Somali did a relatively minor thing. Now, obviously, a lot of people wanted Johnny Somali to suffer. They wanted him to go to jail. They wanted a lot worse to happen to him because he was a really annoying guy. And I kind of agree. But this is what Johnny Somali actually went to prison for: being noisy in a restaurant. This is the actual thing that they charged him with. It was this restaurant. Now, obviously, he did trespass. He did cause a lot of trouble. He was very noisy on train. Like, he did a lot of other stuff. The reason he spent 2 months in a Japanese jail was for being noisy in a restaurant. That's why he got arrested. That's what they charged him with. And people are like, they're saying like, oh, Japan's just so nice to these. No, they're not actually. It's just, you don't really see what happens to these people after they go into these like black boxes where they just kind of disappear. All right, sorry, I missed a couple of things. Daddy Bigland says, can we hit the goal, chat? It's tax-free. Yes, if we hit the goal of 15 super chats, all foreigners, including myself, will be deported from Japan. So you can look forward to that. Now, there's actually kind of like a good question here. Why do all these nutters go to Japan? That's actually a good question. And it's actually so common that it's something that my friends and I have remarked upon. Hold on, let me refresh this chat. I can see it stopped scrolling. It's very common. it's very, very common. And we used to joke about how many psychos we were getting every year. Because let's face it, Japan is kind of a magnet for these kind of people. A lot of people that are unhappy in their own life, a lot of people that are trying to find something else. They kind of feel like they're going to be accepted in Japan. Oh, God damn, why isn't this loading? Why isn't this? I know how to fix it, but I'll have to take this off screen for a second. It's just something about the country. I remember that we had one person that came to us, and she was from Michigan, I believe. And she was straight up nuts. Just completely unhinged. And for some reason, there's a very high percentage of these people. And we would talk about it. We'd say like 20% of the people this year are crazy. They're not going to make it. That sort of thing. We would actually just like, it was just such a common thing that all these people were coming to Japan. And I don't know why they do it. But like I said, I guess they're trying to escape. They think America is like terrible or something. But then they kind of forget how good they actually might have it. And I love living in Japan. It's a great country. But like I said, I don't have to deal with these sort of things because I don't break the law and I don't have psychiatric problems, allegedly. Now, let's... there was actually... Let me see. There was some other stuff I might take a look. There's some like... And this is kind of like... I guess you guys wouldn't find it very interesting, but there's like a bit of backstory on Kelly, and it was like... It's kind of really endearing. Like, these are some of his students. They were like writing poems for him. This was his life when he was living in this coastal town. It looked really nice. And you can see him there before he, obviously before he died, but he was him with his students and everything. Probably more interesting and meaningful to me than it is to you because I knew the guy, but it is what it is. So, a broken system. They are profiting for care, but ignoring patients, human rights. Japan's mental health system stands out among OECD countries for all the wrong reasons. While other countries have for decades trended towards deinstitutionalization and community care, about 300,000 patients occupy the beds in Japan's psychiatric hospitals. More than 90% of the country's approximately 1,200 psychiatric hospitals are privately owned. So that would be like, what is that? It's like 1,000 of the 1,200 hospitals is owned by private institutions. Japan has the highest number of psychiatric beds per patient in the OECD, 2.6% out of 1,000 people. The second highest country, Belgium, has a rate of 1.4, and New Zealand's average rate is 0.3. Psychiatric hospital expenditure makes up 76% of the government's total mental health budget. In addition, patients admitted to psychiatric hospitals in Japan tend to remain in hospital for an extremely long time compared to other countries. In 2011, 65% of patients, about almost 200,000 people, were admitted to psychiatric hospitals, and they stayed for more than a year. The average length of stay was 298 days. The OECD average is 36 days. That's actually insane. It's like 10 times longer in Japan. In October last year, an investigation by newspaper Mainichi revealed that 1,700 people had been kept in Japanese psychiatric hospitals for more than 50 years. Journalist Yukio Okuma writes that the campaigns against the use of restraints in Japan in psychiatric hospitals. She says private psychiatric hospitals benefit from Japan's universal healthcare insurance scheme, which pays for the patient's lengthy stays. Psychiatric hospital owners want to make money from patient care. So the reason that the CEOs don't want to discharge patients is that they don't want to get rid of their money. A psychiatric nurse and spokesman for the Osaka Center of Mental Health and Human Rights, a support group for patients and their families, says that private hospitals put money first. They are profiting from care, but ignoring patients' human rights. Our mission is to change the situation. So it's not great, basically. And there's even cases of Japanese people, quite a few, in fact, of being strapped down like this. And like I said, it's quite horrifying. So this is the problem about talking about this, is it seems that there's a large group of World of T-shirt haters that want to just see him suffer. And I feel like even just talking about this, it's maybe going to egg people on. That's what's kind of like, I kind of want to go and warn him, right? But then if I do that, then I get involved in the situation, and then people will take this as a, they'll take it as like a hint to go like harass this guy further, to troll him further, to actually see, because they probably want to see this happen to him. It's insane. All right, so let's let me see. We'll jump over this for a second. And so we'll go back a few days' time. We were talking about how these live streamers were coming to Japan, and it's starting to come for them. Like the the chickens are starting to come home to roost, basically. Let's see, what's this one?
Oh my God, he's coming back. We got about it. Okay, not me. Not me.
This is a Japanese man carrying a bottle, and this is one of the Johnny Somali crew base. Not Johnny Somali, the Ice Poseidon crew. If you're unfamiliar, there was basically a guy, live streamer from the UK, called DBR6. He had two Kick channels terminated, and he threw a snowball and assaulted a Japanese man to the point that he was bleeding. Two of the live streamers that were going around following around Ice Poseidon, one of them got beaten up with a selfie stick to the point of bleeding. That man is in prison. That man is currently in prison. So when people say that Japan's not acting, it's happening. And this is as of, I believe, either today or yesterday. This is how the Japanese people are starting to react to this, because it is making the news now. That's the difference, is that when it's just online, when it's just us talking about it, when it's just Twitter talking about it, nobody cares. Like the police don't care. When it starts getting reported on the news, that's when the trouble starts. So here we can see.
Oh my God, he's coming back. We got about it. Okay.
So it's a Japanese guy. He's got a bottle.
Not me. Not me.
What the fuck? Joe, I'm getting attacked. I'm getting attacked.
Bro, this is crazy.
So the lynch mobs are actually coming for live streamers now.
Bro.
And make no mistake, like, they fucked around and they found out. That's what happened here.
There's a bottle. What the
Me.
fuck?
No, this
He's
is
coming with
bad.
the bottle.
Why are you touching me, bro?
Yo, stop.
Hold on. Not me. Okay. Dude,
This is the streets of Hokkaido.
やめて。not me. やだ。Okay. ごめんなさい。Okay. Bro, leave me alone. Alright, bro. Leave me alone, bro. Okay. Okay. やめて。はい。Okay. That's it. No more.
I have to say, even though I don't condone violence, this is pretty entertaining to see them get what they deserve, basically. And it is very funny that when they're pressing people on the street, when they're harassing regular people like shopkeepers or workers that are like, just trying to go throughout their day, they're very tough. But the second they get pressed, they're like, no, that's it. Don't touch the camera. They're always pussies, all of these people.
Dude, I'm not doing nothing. Oh, stop, please. やめてください。やめて。ごめんなさい。
And I think most people know what he's saying there just because of the prevalence of anime, basically. But he's basically saying that the live stream is saying, please stop.
Why are you doing that? Ow! Dude, stop! やめて! Okay. ごめんなさい。
No, let's see. I think they... All right.
Bro.
And then he escapes back to his hotel and kind of talks about why this is happening. And this is not even the only case of this. This is, again, in Hokkaido. Oh, so this is the news article, actually. Where I think it shows some of it. This is a Japanese policeman. You can see that everyone's faces are blurred because it's on the news. Privacy laws in Japan are quite strict. Yeah, so this is the guy. This is the Indian guy that got attacked by, I believe it was an Australian guy. Louis X, I want to say. So he beat him with a selfie stick. So even this is like foreigner versus foreigner, live streamer versus live streamer violence. He's pressing charges, and now one of these guys has been arrested already.
Get off me, bro. Hit me.
傷害の疑いで逮捕されたのはオーストラリア人の男。2人は共にインターネットの動画配信者で、警察は過去に何らかのトラブルがあったと見ています。そして雪まつりが開かれていたすすきので偶然出会い、事件になったと見られています。
So this is where the snowball incident happened. So people are like, oh, it's just a snowball. No, it wasn't. It was assault. And now that Japanese people are learning about this is when the streamer lynch mobs are coming from.
雪まつりの大通り会場では、
Excuse me, son. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
雪玉は男性スタッフの顔に直撃。
So it's saying that like he threw a snowball at the staff member's face.
すすきの事件で逮捕されたオーストラリア人のザイダー容疑者と被害者のインド人男性、そして雪玉を投げた男性。
All right, so this is, I guess, is Cider? Is that the guy's name? Cider, he's the culprit. I thought his name was Louis X. Maybe that's his stream name. But this guy's the culprit. This is Indian Man, and he's the victim. And then this one just says Snowball Man. So this is DBR666, but I guess they don't know who he is.
3人はいずれも動画配信者です。
And it's saying that they're connected to this American man. This has got to be Ice Poseidon.
3人に声をかけたのがアメリカ人男性の動画配信者。このアメリカ人男性はオーストラリアの動画配信サイトで先月3日。
Wait, so this says like Australian live streaming site basically, like Hushin or Hushin is like live stream, and site is just like website. Is Kick an Australian website? Is Kick owned by it says like Australian live stream website, and it's like for the last 3 months, or it's like 100 days. He's doing a 100-day live stream, 24-hour a day live stream. Is Kick from Australia? Is Kick in Australia? It is? Really? That's weird.
だから100日間、24時間、日本を旅をしながらライブ配信をしています。そしてこの配信を盛り上げるために3人に声をかけたと。
Yeah, and I believe this says like reward or compensate. It's basically saying that these people are connected or being supported by Ice Poseidon, I believe, which is true. He makes an environment where it's maybe they're not compensated directly, but it's like they get clout or whatever. But he surrounds himself or creates a environment where people will come into his stream and cause drama because it makes it more entertaining and more people watch it. So he absolutely is promoting this behavior.
見られています。
関心を集めた者勝ちの仕組みが金を生み過激さを生むとの指摘がある配信の世界。インバウンドの増加に見られる。
And Samantha's saying that even her boyfriend heard about the snowball thing and is usually not aware of this stuff. Yeah, it's because of it's like the Johnny Somali effect, basically. So like back when Johnny Somali came over, he caused a bit of a ruckus, and it became like quite a cultural event sort of thing. And this is just another one. This is the guy that threw the snowball, DBR6, and he's missing his 2 front teeth, which is kind of weird. But I guess it must be rough out there in the streaming minds. Where was I going with that? Yeah, I'm not sure. I kind of lost my train of thought there after seeing his face. I think this is another video of them being attacked. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh yeah, so I guess this is previously before the bottle attack. They were arguing in a bar, basically. And then they fled back to the hotel in that one. And this is kind of funny. This is one of the rats, and he's leaving the country. So Sam Pepper, he was engaged in the 100-day live stream. He's decided. This is like a feel-good thing. Like just listen to him for a second. It's like a minute long. I think he's got like millions of subscribers though on YouTube.
Time pause, the subathon timer paused.
Okay, so they're doing a subathon. If you're not aware of what that is, basically they do a live stream for like 100 days, 24 hours a day. And the live stream ends at a certain set of time, or it's extended by money goals. So it looks like one sub. So like for every $5, he extended it by 25 minutes. He's 44 days into his 100-day live stream. Because of the drama, the arrests unfolding in Japan, he decided to pause his 24-hour live stream and flee back to Thailand like a cowardly rat.
Time to say bye-bye for a short period of time, okay? Just until we get out of Japan, okay?
So he's not going to live stream in Japan until he gets out of the airport because he knows that these people are coming for him.
Just until we get
the
out
target's
Japan,
on his back.
Countdown timer has ended. We're going to go back to Thailand for 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks, 10 days. And then if the subathon's still going, we'll plan whether we're going to go back to Japan or where we're going to go, depending on the circumstances after them 7 to 10 days, okay?
So I thought that was just pretty funny that they're actually starting to flee. I believe this one was, this is another incident where they're getting pressed on the streets. These are just kind of feels good to see them. I mean, I can't condone this action, of course, but I won't lie and say there isn't an element of schadenfreude here.
Hey, deja vu. Where's the fucking police at, bro?
And now the live streamers, they need the police. Interesting.
Hey, deja vu. Hey, deja, go get the police, man. Police.
It's kind of interesting to see that like Ice Poseidon has like a heart meter, and his heart is up to 131 beats per minute. He's getting pressed. He feels the fear.
Deja vu.
Like, oh no, the Japanese will never press us. It's so nice going to Japan because they never mess with us. Well, things are changing.
Deja vu. Deja vu. Say, hey, they're trying to bait you, bro. They're trying to bait you, bro.
Yeah, they're absolutely trying to bait them, by the way. They want them to strike first so they can hit them back or then claim that they're assaulted. And the Japanese police will absolutely always side with the Japanese men. That's how it is. So even if it's like an even fight, even if it's like a fair fight, if you get into a fight with a Japanese person, you're the one that's going to take the shit for it in Japan.
It's all part of the plan, bro. They're trying to bait you.
When Japanese people are really grumpy, that's when they start rolling their eyes.
Back up. They're trying to bait you. They're trying to bait us. Get back, ABC. Get back, ABC.
He's up to 100. Holy shit, he's up to 162 heartbeats per minute. So I told the chat that I was like getting back into going to the gym daily. And when I'm running for like an hour, I don't think my heart goes over 150. Like that's kind of when I'm like running for like 45 minutes, haven't stopped. I think when I check my heart rate, it's like 150. He's at 160. Yo, buddy, that's pretty rough.
They're trying to bait us.
Holy shit, is he gonna have a heart attack? This can't. Wait, I have to run harder? What do you mean? Isn't that good? Holy shit! Like he's getting real pressed. I didn't notice.
See, this is what I'm saying. They're trying to bait, bro. They're trying to bait, bro.
It's always hard.
They trying to bait, bro. They trying to bait, bro.
This is what needs to happen though. This is like these live streamers need to know that they're being watched. That they can't just go around and do whatever they want and they assume that nobody's going to press them for it. This is a police officer, by the way. So the reason I'm showing you these clips, apart from them being very satisfying, is to illustrate that World of T-Shirts showed up at the worst possible time. Because, you know, last year we had the Johnny Somali was the big thing. Was it last year? Was it the other year? Well, it was a while ago. These guys have currently, like this crew, Ice Poseidon's crew, they have been in Japan for 44 days, causing shit, stirring shit. Now they're on the news in Japan. They're even on like, well, TMZ is not really a news website, but it's like a gossip website. It's being reported on these websites now as well, okay? You can see them slamming his head into this private bar's door, which just don't fuck with people like that. Come on now. When this stuff gets on the news, that's when the things start coming down. And like we saw with Johnny Somali, and what I assume was happening here, even though World of T-Shirts got taken into the police and he was let go, they're starting to track him now. They're starting to build a case against these people. And they have all his information. So if they decide to press charges, if he wants to go to the airport, they'll know that he's trying to leave the country. But like I said, this is the worst time. You've got an entire week of animus across the entire country. People are reporting it down in Osaka, apparently, according to Sam. Japanese people are on edge. They want to see some street justice like we see in those previous clips. And then, while the tension is running high, while the blood is boiling, this guy who cannot go outside anywhere without screaming, without biting, without hitting, this guy shows up in the middle of all of this animus towards foreigners live streaming. He's very much at risk of either being just kicked in the back of the head, or more likely what I think will happen is when he gets eventually detained, and it seems very likely that's going to be the case, if he gets committed, it could be over for him. Like, are his parents going to come and help him out? It doesn't seem like it. From my research back on his stories, it seems like he's got like some grandparents and they're kind of uninvolved. There's this guy, MrBased, which I think we'll take a look at in a second. And they just basically stole him away from his family that seem like they're kind of tired of him or something, and they're just using him as a cash cow. They're like, this is a beast of burden for them. It's kind of like a really sad story, honestly. But we'll have to see. And now there was one thing I wanted to show you, a couple of things I wanted to show you. So like I told you, like Josh has a drinking problem. This and like I think World of T-shirts has like 4 million subscribers on TikTok. This guy, World of Alcohol Tracker, he has 220,000 followers on TikTok and 4 million likes. All he does is makes videos showing how much this guy's drinking. Let's take a look at one of them. These are really these are like insanely entertaining.
The British are coming! The British are coming!
Warning. Drinking this amount and this often is dangerous and will lead to alcohol dependency. Please drink responsibly. Welcome back, everybody. Today is the recap for yesterday, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th.
Okay,
starting the day off strong with a Borg at 1 p.m. For everyone unfamiliar, Borg stands for Black Outrage Gallon. Now,
okay, can I see some... All right, this kind of made me laugh. Like, it was a kind of a serious topic for a while. Now we're kind of getting into some lighter stuff. Did you guys hear of Borg before? What is it? Blackout Rage Gallon? Tell me a one. If you've ever drunk from a Borg, let me know. Like, I thought that I drank a lot, but this is like pretty funny, actually.
There's tons of different ways to make these, but the most widely accepted is to just take a fifth of the cheapest liquor you can find, pour it into a 3/4 full gallon jug of water, and then add in something like liquid IV, Mio, or any other like electrolyte type flavorings to make it a mixed drink. And then the idea is you bring this to whatever event you're going to and just drinking it over the course of a few hours or the whole day. Please don't do this. This is just a good way to land yourself in the hospital or get alcohol poisoning. The liquid IV and other...
Daddy Bigland said that he's Borg taken of the Borg before. I have never been this scuffed. I think the most scuffed drink that I've ever had was we used to do I guess, what do you call it? Johnny 40 hands? You know, where you get like, they're not really called 40s in Japan. They're like, we had like 1 liter bottles, but you know, it's like you duct tape the bottles to your hands. So we get like cider. So we get 2 1 liter bottles of cider, and they duct tape them to your hand, and you had to drink them all before you could get your hands released. But we would be really silly and just add Skittles to them for some reason. It doesn't make it worse to drink, but I mean, it's unhealthy, right? But we wanted to make our bubbling Skittle cider hands or whatever. Edward 40 hands or Edward wine hands. Yeah, I think that's the most scuffed things I drank, apart from King's Cup. Obviously, King's Cup, every time you play that, it's like a disaster. Someone always throws up. That's absolutely disgusting.
Electrolytes that you pour into this gallon do not cancel out the effects of the alcohol on your body. It's better to be hydrated, but
all right, let's just skip forward.
Around 3/4 drinks free because...
So this is how the guy starts the day, by the way. It's actually, these breakdowns are so fascinating. And I watched a couple of these because it seems like he just spends the majority of his day completely hammered. And some of the, like, more than half of his daily requirement of calories, his total daily energy expenditure, is coming from alcohol.
Somebody gave it to him, and 200 calories. At 2 p.m., we have a shooter of Dr. McGillicuddy's mint menthol alcohol. These are right around 3/4 of a standard drink. So this will be 0.75 standard drinks, $1 and 100 calories. Also at 2 p.m., a Coors Light Silver Bullet. These are 1 pint of beer. We'll call those 1.33 standard drinks, $5 and 200 calories. Also at 2 p.m., we have drink number 4, which is a Truly 4-in-1 standard drink, $5 and 100 calories. At 3.
So Captain Smith says, so if the Japanese asylum doesn't get him, the booze will. That's another concern. I don't know too much about the actual biomechanics of it or anything and the actual dependency, but people have suggested that if he gets taken away into the Japanese like black box, which, like I said, the Japanese police can hold you for 3 weeks without giving you access to lawyers, without giving you access to family members, without giving you access to anything. 3 weeks inside solitary confinement before they charge you. They can just do this on suspicion of a crime. If he goes into one of these places, does he start getting detox seizures? I don't know. But it seems like this guy is absolutely hammered every day. So if that isn't an alcohol-dependent person, I don't really know who is.
p.m., the 5th drink of the day. We're at a bar restaurant called Ned's Divine in Boston. Looking at...
They will give him benzos for the alcohol withdrawals, surely. How will they know? How will they know? If he punches a cop and they put him in the tank, they're going to let him suffer in there. And what is he going to say? Oh, I need alcohol. They'll be talking him saying, like, speak Japanese. Like, You don't just get nice English speaking cops wherever you go in Japan. They typically have to call a specialist in, or they ring up a phone or something. If he's just screaming, it's not like Last Samurai. He's not going to be in there screaming sake, sake. It's not going to be like that. They're just going to let him suffer. We did a stream a while ago where we talked about the cruelties of the Japanese detention system, and this is just the regular one, right? The actual prisons, the cops and everything, not even just the psychiatric wards. There was a guy that wouldn't stop resisting and wouldn't be compliant, and they basically shoved a hose up his ass and filled him up. He died from internal injuries. They inflated him like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Not even joking. It sounds funny, but it's not. But like these Japanese prisons even are just horrifying. You just sit by yourself all day, kneeling, no noise, no talking. They beat you if you misbehave. If you don't speak Japanese, that's a beating. Well, how do you learn Japanese? Well, you better learn pretty fucking fast. So what do you think when you send a person who's mentally impaired to one of these places? They start struggling. They start screaming. They start yelling for help. They start asking for people that speak English. It's not going to happen. It's going to be pretty bad. This is very serious concern.
At the menu from their website, the drink that most closely matches the one that Josh was drinking would be the blueberry lemonade. We're going to call this about 1.5 standard drinks, $15, and 300 calories. Another drink at 3 p.m. we have a pint of some kind of beer dyed green for 1.33 standard drinks, $8, and 200 calories. At 5 p.m., of course, we have to have a pint of Samuel Adams. This will be another 1.33 standard drinks, $8, and 200 calories. This looks like a mojito of some sort. It's in a large pint glass, so we're going to call this 2 standard drinks, $14, and 300 calories at 5 p.m. Now, I was tagged in this video. This was not posted to his channel, but this was at around 6 p.m. This looks like it was something like a 7-7 or a whiskey Sprite, something like that. We're just going to call this 1 standard drink, $10 and 200 calories. At 7 p.m., a Corona for 1 drink, $8 and 100 calories. Also at 7 p.m., we have a Twisted Tea Shotgun for 1 drink, most likely free because I'm assuming one of these people behind him gave it to him, and 200 calories. And 1 more drink at 7 p.m., we have a Seagrams. These are lighter on the ABV scale. They're about 3.2%, and to compare that to something like a Coors Light, which is around 4 to 4.5%, so this will be 0.75 standard drinks. I'm assuming this one was free and given to him as well, and 100 calories. And at 8 p.m., we are on.
All right, so we'll kind of skip to the end because it's kind of just what I wanted to show you. Just go through the entire thing.
About 21 standard drinks on camera. He had a max BAC.
So on camera, on this given day, he had 21 standard drinks.
He was 0.35. He spent a total of $88, drank a total of 2,700 calories in alcohol alone, and was sober for about 7 hours in the morning. If he doesn't
out of 24 hours, he was sober for 7. 2,700 calories in alcohol. And there's how many videos? This guy's got like hundreds of videos. Or I guess it's like, well, not 100. It's like 75 posts. I want to see I don't know how to use TikTok, sorry. I want to see like his the year review. That's what I want to see. I was just looking for the one with the most numbers. Where's the year breakdown? That's really fascinating because I saw that he did 500,000 calories for the year, which is outrageous. And for kind of like a pound of fat is 3,500. No, wait, is it a pound of fat? Yeah, I think a pound of fat is 3,500 calories. So in that single given day, he was 80% of the way to having an entire pound of fat on his body just from alcohol. I thought that I was as strong. That's a lot. Holy shit. Let me see. Can we find? I don't know. Maybe I can't find it. You know what? I actually know where I can find it. It's in the Turkey Tom breakdown. So I'll just sneak over to get that world because I want you guys to see this. I want you guys to see this. And the thing is, Japan is like a drinker's paradise as well. So the video on Turkey Tom's channel is called From Autism to Alcoholism, which is a very funny name. I'll show you the beginning of this because it is kind of funny. To give you more of an idea of who
This
this
is Joshua Block. If you don't already know him, you'd be forgiven for thinking he just escaped from a mental asylum. However,
all right, so where's the alcohol breakdown? It's got to be in one of these peaks. Let's see. That's where he's drinking. Ah, here it is. Here's the breakdowns. This part is absolutely insane.
Egging him on.
regardless of what Michael Quinn might want us to believe, everyone knew that Josh had a problem, regardless of the tracker's presence. Things are really put into perspective when we reach the end of 2023, with an update for December 31st. In it, he gives a breakdown for the whole day. But the really interesting part comes later, when he looks back over the entire month of December. According to his study, we find out Josh has spent around $1,500 on alcohol, with an average blood alcohol level at around 0.08, which, once again, is when you get a DUI. He would only spend 34% of the month sober, being at least slightly drunk 64% of the time, above driving limit for 40% of the time, and blackout drunk about 9% of the time. From this, he would also draw an average for the entire year, asserting that throughout 2023, Josh would have spent around $18,000 on alcohol and consumed 575,000 calories from drinking alone.
This is something fascinating. Like, I have never seen such autistic viewership of a person. Like, this is why I call him like the millennial or the Zoomer Christian. Total drinks in a given year, 3,675. That's an average of 10 drinks per day. $18,000. Now, allegedly, he makes $400,000 a year in TikTok. So, you know, it's a drop in the bucket. But look at that, 575,000 calories from drinking. Holy shit. Oh my gosh. Like, how many, like, if we divide that, like, hold on, let's get a calculator. So, wait, 575, 400 divided by 3,500. That means that that's 164 pounds of fat in the form of alcohol. I'm surprised he's so skinny still. And there may be a reason for him being so skinny. He may have some very serious diseases that we might take a look at in a second. But I think it's over for him, honestly. Like this was like the final fate of the guy that I knew, Kelly, that was admitted to a Japanese psychiatric ward, strapped down to a bed, being force-fed through tubes for 10 days straight in an adult diaper. It's just horrifying. So these guys think that Japan is just going to be fun and let them go crazy. Maybe if you don't disturb the wa, but as we've seen from these videos, he can't not. This is his first night out in Japan, basically. Biting his own hands. This is the behavior that the police will look to when they're making the decision of whether to commit him or not. Destruction of property, self-harm, disturbing the peace. All of these things. Like, honestly, I feel really bad for him, to be honest. Like, the other live streamers, I feel like they can get what they fucking deserve. But this guy obviously has something wrong with him, and these people are exploiting him just for clout, money, or fame.
Josh.
Oh.
Josh.
I dropped something.
Josh.
And again, so if we take a look, I'll show you a second something. Hold on a second. Let's see. Tokyo. You're not even really supposed to film in here at all. The reality is that if you don't cause a problem, it's okay.
Tokyo.
Like, it's not too much of a problem. This is what the streets are like, okay? So this is when me and Max went there to film in Golden Guy. And they're really Kino areas. Like, it's a very nice area. And all of these are like bars. It actually says no photography, no filming. But like I said, if you don't disturb the wa, it's not a problem. And everyone takes photos here. Everyone films here. The Japanese people do it. The English people do it. But again, these people aren't causing a disturbance. They're not disturbing the wa. And all of these bars, there's like 200 of them. Some of the best times I have in Tokyo are in these streets. They're so cool. You just go in. Every bar has like 6 seats. You can actually see here. You cannot obey our rules. Stay out of Golden Guy. So no smoking, no loud noises. I can't really see what that says. No littering, no rowdy behavior. And what is this one? I'm not sure what this one is for 3 people. But yeah, you go into these little places, and there's like 5 seats, and you just have like a really fun time interacting with locals because it's like they're like so small. These little bars. It kind of like forces interaction, so it's a really good place if you're like a shy person to get some useful like forced social interaction basically. So this is where he's doing that. This is where he's doing that. No polycules. Maybe it could be no polycules. I don't know. Let me briefly go through these and see if there's any other interesting posts. I think we saw most of these clips though. What is this one? Oh, this is the one where he hits someone. So this is assault. And even if these people don't press charges, the prosecutor may decide to. No, they got like cringe music playing. So he's just sitting around, spurging out and just punching people randomly. Like, I don't think this Japanese guy, like, maybe this guy knows Josh and his friends. I'm not sure about this dude. This might be just some guy they picked up on the street. And we saw that Josh was like kicking random Japanese people as well. Let me see. Extended version of his crash out. Not sure. What's it? This is when he's back drinking. And all right, we'll take a. Yeah, this is the one from the beginning where he's like going around. In this video, he goes around screaming because someone told him to put the fries in the bag, yells at Japanese people, and threatens to murder everyone at the end, which is that's not a good thing to say. Especially if all the live streamers are getting RIP headphones. Yeah, I'm fortunate. This is a very loud person.
I'll fucking murder you!
See, look at that. He's not even saying that to like random. These are just 2 Japanese women that are like, "Are you okay?"
I'll fucking murder you! I ain't 400 grams. Fuck.
So like, you might be able to get away with this nonsense in America because there's like, I guess, psychos running the streets everywhere in America. I've seen the videos of driving through Philadelphia and stuff. But in Japan, you don't disturb people. People just want to go to work and do their shit and not be bothered and not have to listen to noisy people. That's all they really want. Everyone remarks that one of the things that people love about Japan is that you can walk through a big city and you can actually hear yourself think. It's one of the best parts about Japan is just how peaceful it can be. At least, yeah, never mind. I was going to make a bad joke. Don't worry about it. So I feel like this guy's going to be on the radar very quickly, and it's not going to look good for him. Now we'll go into the second part of this, and this gives you kind of a more of a in-depth look at his not only World of Shirts. This is a Turkey Tom video, by the way. You might watch it on 1.25 speed, but he's got 2 Shirts videos at least, I believe. And this is called the $3 million drug dealer pimp managing Joshua Block and MrBased. So MrBased is the drug dealing pimp who's now the manager, at least he was recently. And this guy's story is fucking insane. And like I said, it goes to show you how these people are exploiting this individual. So let's and this story itself is just very entertaining, but it gets kind of sad when actually MrBased comes in. But Trucker Rob also says, another 5 says, been listening for a while driving, been a blizzard up here. Hope you're staying safe out there. Hope you're staying safe and watch out on those roads.
By the governor of New York.
How did the governor?
Long before becoming the manager for World of T-Shirts,
Oh, no! Help!
MrBased spent half a decade in prison for running an escort business that supposedly supplied the governor of New York.
How did the governor think he was going to keep this quiet? You had the governor as a client. You would give him freebies because then you have him by the balls, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Ever since.
This guy's escort service, it had like 1 chick or something, I believe. I mean, sure there was other ones, but there was like 1 big name chick. Can someone explain to me, why do rich, powerful men all want to get with the same chick? It's like, yo, bro, this chick she's an escort. We've all fucked her. You got to get her, bro. She's the most expensive. Like, why do they do it? It makes no fucking sense. Surely the reverse should be true. I don't know.
He's been legally.
Well, this is MrBased. MrBased is an old loser who used to be very rich from making hot phone line calls or something. And he lost it all. And then he's reinvented himself as a live streamer and also also World of T-Shirts manager.
walking on thin ice.
I have a backstory and a lore. All you guys have just done internet crap.
From doing crypto rug pulls, harassing women on stream,
You're bad. No, I didn't do it on purpose.
and allegedly being involved in a woman's death.
I had a roommate named Zoltan who was with this chick. He goes, "You want some GHB?" I woke up on the floor with vomit all over me, with Zoltan telling me that the girl was...
But how did we get here?
Oh, like, speaking of actually that, so as part of this guy's story, he also drugs people. But that reminded me that isn't like the roofie drug, that's like rohypnol, right? Rohypnol? That's one of the drugs they use when you're sedated in a Japanese psychiatric ward. They pump you full of that, by the way. Just thought I'd include that detail.
Jason Lou Bell Itzler was born on February 23, 1967, to a Jewish family in New Jersey. His mom, Ronnie Lou Bell, was a fashion designer, and his birth father,
GHB is
Leonard
the same
Silk,
one?
was a businessman.
Is GHB
but
also
after she
good?
had
Okay.
Jason, Ronnie divorced him and remarried a man named Ron, a big shot attorney, who eventually gave Jason his last name. Very little is known about Jason's early life, besides the fact that he had an obsession with sex, sending letters to Mad Magazine asking them to publish recordings of teenage girls climaxing, which they obviously didn't do.
That's a woe buddy right there. Mad Magazine, why don't you publish teenage girls moaning? What kind of unhinged request is that? Holy shit. Like, why Mad Magazine? Like, surely it would be like Penthouse or Hustler or something. It just makes no sense to me.
Jason claimed that this obsession of his started because his mom was, and I quote, the hottest woman in the world, which motivated
Oh my god. It gets worse. It just keeps getting fucking worse.
him to be surrounded by beautiful women. Obviously, that's a weird comment to make about your mom, but regardless, this obsession eventually turned into ambition, working in the sex industry. Partially, this ambition was influenced by his maternal grandfather, Nathan Lou Bell, a bookmaker with ties to organized crime, who owned a chain of amusement parks and hat stores. Seeing how entrenched his grandpa was in what he called the action really motivated Jason to become an entrepreneur himself. And soon enough, he found himself working as a cabana boy at the Concord Hotel, where he befriended Jason Bin, a man who published magazines like The Hamptons and Los Angeles Confidential. Being acquainted with so many millionaires and even billionaires, Jason was enamored with their lifestyle. And while he floated between a couple of different law schools, he decided to start his first ever business, a phone sex company. His business model was quite simple. First, he advertised his services as a free live call, but the catch was after a minute, a $4.98 a minute charge began rolling, meaning that any caller that wasn't an expert at flicker gooning would end up forking over a decent amount of money.
That's pretty smart, honestly. Like, I think I told you guys last night. No, sorry. I think I told you guys on the Friday stream with Max that when I was in high school, one of my friends would go to people's houses and then use their phones to call these like hotlines, and he would rack up like $200 a night. He would like go to a sleepover or something, or like a party. He would go there, use the phone call, and then there would be a big bill, and he thought he could get away with it. He was such a piece of shit, that guy. I don't really get the appeal of these things, but of calling up those numbers. But you know, it is what it is. I guess back in the day, you had to find your fun something, right?
Say that this was profitable is a giant understatement. Jason quickly earned himself the title of the phone sex king of South Beach, raking in $600,000 a month, which...
Okay, how do you possibly go from $600,000 a month to broke? What is the overhead on these hotlines? Like, is it like an individual girl on every line, or is it just like 500 guys listening to one girl talk to all of them? Because in theory, there should be very little like cost involved in this business, right? You record the girl one time, or you have one girl talking to like 500 guys, or listening to the same big JO session call or something, and then you just have to pay one employee. You're making all this money. How do you lose it? How do you possibly lose this amount of money to the point where you're resorting to live streaming on Kick to get by?
As insane as it is by itself, actually turned into even more at $1.5 million per month within 1 year. But easy come and easy go, Jason's spending habits quickly spun out of control, with him buying luxury cars and spending up to $500,000 decorating his one-bedroom apartment. As he financially spun his wheels in the mud, tragedy struck. His mother, whom he was still very close with at the time, passed away from cancer in 1994.
This is the mother that he said was the most attractive woman in the world, by the way. So I guess he lost the love of his life. Trucker Rob with a 2 says, we need to hit the goal. Andrew must be deported. Is Andrew... Wait, this is my goals for deporting people from Japan, right? Yeah. Is Andrew in Japan now? I thought he was still in Thailand.
3 years later, his phone sex company fell apart due to an unspecified reason that he simply described as an oversight, which concluded in him filing for bankruptcy and losing everything he had.
So basically, he didn't pay taxes, or he had to pay protection money or pay back gambling debts. That's what happened. That's the only way to lose that amount of money. It's insane that people actually get to this level of success through these disgusting means, and then they somehow fuck it all up. Like, all you have, there's some very simple things you can do to protect your wealth. I don't know how these people get this much money and then fuck it up. Was it $1.5 million a month? A month? People saying it went up his nose. That's also very much a possibility.
Including perhaps the greatest tragedy of all, losing ownership of the domain pussy.com. Because
sorry. How do you... This must be the most expensive website on the entire internet. And this guy actually owned pussy.com. And then he lost it. Holy shit.
The complete failure.
It's like, oh, my most prized possession, pussy.com. He goes into a bar. He's like, because this guy's old now, right? He goes into a bar. He's like, ladies, when I was your age, I was the domain operator of pussy.com. Yeah, that's right. You heard me, ladies. That's actually kind of like, is he forward thinking? Did he come up with this first, or I don't know? That's just a funny little detail.
Of his company, he ended up owing $4.5 million at 36% interest to lenders. As a consequence of...
Holy shit. Okay, so that's how he got his money. He took out debt. And then from people that are going to break his fucking legs, which is what he deserves.
The debt and the loss of his mother, Jason unfortunately tried to take his own life twice. Once with a steak knife, and the other time by taking 150 sleeping pills at once and chasing it down with some scotch. Without his money, things were looking pretty dire. Jason's mother was gone, and he faced a mountain of debt that seemed extremely impossible to climb out of. But in the year 2000, he decided to make his comeback to the sex industry via a camgirl company. And once again, his eyes were bigger than his stomach.
So people are saying he's like the original Andrew Tate? Kind of. A little bit, yeah.
Proceeded to rent out an 8...
Oh, got the... What the fuck is this ad? Why am I getting engagement ring ads? That's a weird
Freelance engineer の方は
There we go. Freelance engineering, that's a much better ad for me.
案件を探すとき
8,000 square foot corner building in New York. He went as far as to name his company Soho Models to lure in unsuspecting young women, presenting it as if it were a legitimate modeling business, only to later reveal what they'd actually be doing. Unsurprisingly, this also fell apart. And at one point, Jason recalled finding himself dangling over the side of a building, held by the ankles by a guy named Mikey P. It's uncertain to what extent this little tidbit is true, but given how closely these kinds of businesses are to organized crime, it's probably true. Becoming disillusioned with the industry at the time, Jason decided to clean up his act, go to college, and actually turn his life around. Just kidding. Instead, he decided to pursue another career path, drug trafficking.
I guess the people predicting in chat weren't exactly wrong, were they? But like, imagine if he'd actually just let go of his ankles when he was being dangled down. The world would have been so much better for it. Why can't gangsters just do something nice for us? Why can't they give us a treat and just throw these people off roofs?
According to him, he was friends with some Israeli ecstasy dealers at the time, and one day they tried to recruit him. He was asked to carry somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 pills through customs for a payout of $30,000. And while he was initially hesitant to agree to it, he not only took them up on the offer, but he also convinced them to let him smuggle even more pills. To his surprise, he actually got through customs. And after the job was done successfully, he got paid and kept some 3,000 pills for himself as a bonus for the giant risk he just took. And just like that, Jason was hooked, and he wanted to keep doing it.
So he actually knew Epstein as well, by the way. So not that he was a failed Epstein, but he was an associate of Epstein.
Of years later, he found himself on a plane from Amsterdam to New Jersey with 4,000 tablets of ecstasy on his body. But as soon as he landed, he was caught and sentenced to 5 years in prison. Now, prison can obviously be a pretty scary place, and Jason was completely terrified of the prospect of going. So he decided that the next best course of action was to pretend he was insane. This involved doing things like spinning around for hours on end, and while that did pale in comparison to what other fakers were doing.
One guy that got through as a full loony took a toothpick and stuck it all the way in his dick. And, he's like, this is all you have to do, Jason. Do this every day. And keep going to medical and telling him it hurts. And of course, I would never do that. But he got right through. They said he's whack.
Jason's success.
Now, this happens quite common. As some of the chat knows, one of my first jobs was working in a hospital. And I was working in a department that did a lot of reporting through the psychiatric wards themselves. And there was a large amount of the inmates or patients, I guess, that would stick things inside themselves. And these reports are always hilarious and terrifying. And maybe this has contributed to my sense of dark humor. But me and the occupational health nurses would talk about this from time to time. And whenever we got a report from a certain guy, and the first comment from the ward was he's smiling, we knew there was going to be something bad. And basically, inevitably, this guy's hobby was he would hide various things inside of himself, and he would be very pleased that the nurses had to remove them. You know, like those bag ties? You know, it's like a piece of thin metal with the plastic on top of it. Those things? Those things were his favorite thing to hide. Holy shit, that was a weird time in my life.
Successfully got himself sent to a correctional facility for mentally ill people. However, he only stayed there for a month, at which point they figured out he was faking it and sent him to prison in New York, where he proceeded to bounce around through a series of different lockups since people had the tendency to want to kill him after spending a little time with him. I'm not really sure what that's about. He should have done the toothpick thing. As you can probably gather, his time in prison was far from pleasant, and he was especially upset that his grandfather, whom he saw as a gangster, didn't approve of his behavior and cut contact with him during the time he was locked up.
Now, I think this is important to remember in this part of the story, how he's very unpopular and can't spend a day with people without them hating him, because he goes on to say he was really loved in prison. But I think the reality is that he had to sell his pussy just to get by every day.
But fortunately for him, after 17 months, Jason was released on probation and immediately got to working on his next business idea, New York Confidential, a high-class escort business, but with a twist that Jason would only hire women who had never worked in the sex industry before so that he could provide the ideal girlfriend experience. At first, it seemed like this idea wouldn't go any.
How fucking stupid is this idea? Hire an escort that has never been in the escort industry before, but after one day, she's already been used. So then it like defeats the entire purpose of this. I don't understand the appeal of this at all. Surely if you're rich and famous, it should be fairly easy to find attractive women, right? I don't know. But then again, the standards of beauty are very kind of weird. You know, like you ever see that meme where it's like the runway models that look like trash, and then they've got like the McDonald's worker and she looks like an absolute like 10 out of 10. It's kind of like that in real life, maybe. That all the attractive models are like these like Scandinavian skeleton women. Then all the really attractive women are working in like fast food places and stuff. I don't know.
Anywhere. Jason wasn't having immediate success. But then a girl called Natalia signed up and instantly became the face of the company. He started promoting her using a website called eroticreview.com, where he ensured she got an endless sea of 10 out of 10 reviews. If anyone were to rate her any less, Jason personally contacted them, made them an offer they couldn't refuse, which ranged from getting extra time with Natalia to, allegedly, paying up to $5,000 in cash. This tactic worked very well, and she quickly doubled her per hour rate, which eventually peaked at $2,000 an hour. Not too shabby. Natalia worked.
See, I don't get it. Why would rich men pay $2,000 an hour to bang the same women that all the other rich men are paying for? Surely you would want to go exclusive. I don't know.
Upwards of 270 hours in 1 month, or around 60 hours per week, which, in a very strange and dysfunctional way, made Jason fall in love with her. The fact that she was an extremely active prostitute didn't bother him at all. As he saw it, he would only feel hurt if she had sex with someone else for free. Within months, New York Confidential became one of the largest escort agencies in the country, if not the entire world. And Jason Itzler became known as the king of all pimps, going as far as to publicly identify himself as such in restaurants. And through his business, he became closely acquainted with a number of very powerful people who sought his girl services. Even
imagine that. You just roll up to the restaurant. It's like, do you have a reservation, sir? It's like, don't you know who I am? I'm the king of pimps. Everyone in New York has banged Natalia. Now get me a table, you pleb. What are you? It's such a weird thing to be proud of. And he makes this his entire personality as well.
Taking out ad spots in mainstream magazines.
This eventually winds back around to World of T-shirts as well.
At its peak, the agency was pulling in around $500,000 a month, with Jason personally pocketing around $3.6 million per year. But of course, there was one little issue with Jason's entire business model. Prostitution is illegal, which forced Jason to operate in a very legally gray manner. For example, he had all of the girls sign custom contracts saying they were only providing time and companionship for their customers, specifically forbidding any sexual activity. But regardless of his
she just falls in love with every client. Every rich man she just happens to fall in love with before the hour's finished. You know, that reminds me of is I get to do this once per show, maybe more than once on this one, but reminds me of one of my favorite Simpsons clips. Let me see if I can find this. Let me see if I can find this one. I think. Let me see. Damn it! I can't seem to find it straight away. But there's like a. No, I won't describe it. If I can find it, I can find it. Otherwise, I won't play it.
Ever legal workarounds due to the time he spent at law school, Jason's time as the king of all pimps was not going to last long. Despite still being on parole and even having a curfew, he flashed his barely legal exploits, going as far as recording a reality TV show inside the New York Confidential offices that he pitched to VH1 for $1 million per episode. This footage, which was later supposed to be made into a documentary, has been partially leaked online, and it shows how brazen Jason was, publicly promoting his clearly illegal business. This is like if Al Capone had a TLC show about bootlegging alcohol during Prohibition. The fact he was able to do all of this while on parole is absolutely ridiculous. But most of this brazenness was an act, something Jason needed to put on due to his addiction to public attention, even if it could potentially cost him his freedom. Behind the scenes, he was getting increasingly stressed out, mostly due to having to drive back and forth from New Jersey to New York in order to keep his business running. This stress led to frequent fights between him and Natalia, whom he demanded drive all the way to New Jersey at 3 a.m. just to stay with him overnight. Which,
why wouldn't you just move into New York? Don't people in New York hate living in New Jersey? Or they make fun of it all the time, don't they?
eventually culminated in her jumping out of a moving car and breaking her heel during one of their arguments. The strain also led to both of them getting into hard drugs. Jason, because he couldn't smoke weed anymore due to court-mandated drug tests, started regularly abusing ketamine, which the test didn't pick up. While the substance didn't affect him too negatively, it did get to Natalia, who during a binge hit her head on a 6-foot-tall statue of an Indian fertility goddess Jason had placed in their room, where she then passed out and had to go to the ER.
I guess she didn't get pregnant after working. Like, it can't be that good of a goddess, though. Like, come on now, India.
Bragging about having been with 700 women and regularly spending tens of thousands.
Oh no, we got another ad, didn't we? What is this one? It's an exoskeleton.
Thousands of dollars on completely useless.
So if I change to my YouTube Premium account, it seems to break the chat. So we'll just have to deal with it for this one.
Luxury trinkets to the point where he could barely walk in his own apartment. It was very clear that just like it did when he ran his phone sex business, his eccentricities were getting to be too much. At this point in time, Natalia was also being pushed out of the business by another girl named Mona, who just a few months prior put Jason in house arrest by accusing him of being a domestic abuser. It's unknown to what extent these accusations are true, but it is worth noting that there's not one, but 2 records of Jason being arrested for beating up his girlfriends around this time. In any case, the betrayal was too much for her to bear, and she left, as Jason became increasingly deranged, saying things like, "I'm bulletproof. Rich people don't go to jail." But Jason's time in the sun,
and then he went to jail. Spoiler alert.
Was quickly coming to an abrupt end. In late 2004, an altercation broke out between one of Jason's girls and one of his bodyguards, which ended in the man being pepper sprayed and writhing on the floor while she locked herself in one of the rooms and called the cops. While the initial police visit went without any issue, cops began showing up to Jason's property almost every day after that, looking for something they could get him on. It went on for about 2 months until in January 2005, his property was raided by the police and he was wheeled off to prison. Apparently,
I thought rich people don't go to prison. I thought that Necrocata said that wasn't against the law. Rich people to go to prison.
Justification for the raid presented itself a few days prior, when 7 of his girls were picked up by the police during another raid, and I'm assuming that during interrogation, the girls tipped the cops off about Jason's shady dealings. He was then formally charged with drug possession, promoting prostitution, money laundering, falsifying business records, stalking, and breaking parole. He was then sent back to prison in New Jersey while awaiting trial. His bail was set at $250,000, with the express condition that the money could not have come from his escort business, meaning Jason really had no chance of getting out. Now, at first, Jason was confident he would actually beat the charges without issue, since
it looks pretty positive. You always got to smile, right? You always got to put on a smile. It looks like he'll be just fine.
He was being defended by a star-studded defense attorney, Paul Berggren. The only problem was Paul Berggren was himself under federal investigation for allegedly taking part in the murder of an undercover.
Sorry. Wait, what happened there? Hold on.
Going up to Jason's property.
All right, no, I got to try and play. Sorry, the Simpsons clip I was looking for, I couldn't find it, was when Mo. They listened to him and he's like, hello, I'd like to order an escort. To where? How about Orgasmville? Hello? I couldn't find that one, but there's another one I've got to find now. This one is it's too perfect. Because this guy's lawyer is in jail. So I have to I found it straight away.
Don't worry, Homer, I have a foolproof.
So this is exactly what's happening to MrBased right now, talking to his lawyer.
Don't worry, Homer. I have a foolproof strategy to get you out of here. Surprise witnesses, each more surprising than the last. I tell you, the judge won't know what hit him. Pipe down in there, Hutz.
This is exactly the situation he's in. Both him and his lawyer are already in prison. Don't worry, we're going to get you out, bro. Oh my goodness, it's too good. It's too perfect. Wait.
Almost every day after that, looking for something they could get him on. It went on for about 2 months until in January 2005, his property was raided by the police and he was wheeled off to prison. Apparently, the justification for the raid presented itself a few days prior, when 7 of his girls were picked up by the police during another raid, and I'm assuming that during interrogation, the girls tipped the cops off about Jason's shady dealings. He was then formally charged with drug possession, promoting prostitution, money laundering, falsifying business records, stalking, and breaking parole. He was then sent back to prison in New Jersey while awaiting trial. His bail was set at $250,000.
We went back.
But he clearly hadn't lost all hope, as in late May of 2006, he called into the Opie and Anthony radio show from inside, where he...
This is the connection to the toe. via the Opie and Anthony, the Dabbleverse. It all comes back to the toe. He can't keep getting away with it.
Claimed he would be released in 4 months and then go right back to what he was doing.
Where I'm going to have girls 10 times prettier than I had before, and I had Ford models working for me before, and I'm going to have gentlemen much richer, classier, and more famous than I ever had before, and I had many billionaires before.
How do you not love?
He also advertised his personal website, where he told them they could find his documentary. But since then, the website has stopped existing, and archives of it don't go back far enough to see what he was actually talking about. Nowadays, the domain is actually used by Jason's detractors to warn people about him. In the end, after spending a year...
Actually, look at that. You can see... hold on, let's take a look at that website.
Nowadays, the domain...
Are you thinking about renting to Jason Etler in New York? Think again. In the past, he ran an escort agency linked to money laundering and was investigated and questioned regarding the murder of a young woman named Julia Schmitz. And he is now pimping a different kind, exploiting an autistic young man on TikTok following his live stream. So that's what he's moved on from. So this is a bit of like foreshadowing of what he's doing now. He's moved on from pimping women to being a TikTok mentally challenged pimp for that. That's where this goes.
Is actually used by Jason's detractors to warn people about him. In the end, after spending 1.5 years in custody, he pled guilty to money laundering, attempting to promote prostitution, and admitted that he ran an escort service worth millions. He also forfeited ownership of everything he had purchased with his ill-gotten gains. In the end, he served 30 months in jail since the moment he'd been arrested in January 2005 and was sent to Rikers Island. Now, despite his reputation as one of the most violent prisons in America, Jason challenges this notion, saying that jail was a lot worse, adding that he became something of a minor celebrity among the inmates due to his status as the world's most famous pimp.
Do we believe this story? It seems like everyone hates him. He can't spend a day in the previous jail without people hating him. One of his bitches tried to jump out of a moving car and broke her ankle to just get away from him. And now he's like the most popular person in the prison. Do we believe this? Or was it more likely that he was giving the bussy away on the regular just so that he could get through the day without being murdered?
During his time away, Jason's lawyer, Paul, took over the business, getting as much as $5,000 a week from the escorts, only to also get arrested on the same exact charges as Jason in 2007. Ironically, right as he was released, the then governor of the state of New York, who had been largely responsible for putting Jason behind bars in the first place, was himself caught using an escort service to send him a prostitute. Seeing this scandal as an opportunity, Jason butted into the public discourse, claiming that he had personally trained one of the girls the governor had solicited. This sparked a frenzy of attention, as Jason quickly earned a...
What does he mean by that? He personally trained. Look, love. Pass me that dildo. I'm going to show you how to suck a cock. He looks like he probably no gag reflex on this man.
Himself a spot on the then extremely popular Howard Stern show. There, Jason presented himself as an expert on the escort business. He commented on the governor's affair.
Isn't it weird to you that our governor would go after a prostitution ring when he himself is into prostitution?
This guy, it was such a ridiculously overzealous prosecutor, and basically, if you watch interviews of him over the years and his wife, he's basically talking about, I live up to a higher standard, so should you. So, I mean, he's a hypocrite.
And spoke about his time in prison.
Did you spend time in a county jail or did you go to a prison?
You were in Rikers, right? Yeah, Rikers, which is really bad and disgusting. I don't know if you guys know or not, but jail is so much worse than prison. Prison is much nicer. And
so that's the upgrade, going to prison.
And no one beat you up the whole time there?
They loved the reason I was in there, thank God.
Look at this guy. Nobody beat up this piece of shit. I doubt it.
Used to grab me all the time and be like, you know what we'd do to you if you weren't the king of all pimps, you know?
ブランド品、安心に売るなら楽天楽マ。
You know how we take your stuff and beat you up.
Oh, really?
And while he did it, he quite convincingly painted himself as a kind of charismatic, entrepreneurial-minded businessman instead of the exploitative, slightly insane pimp that he truly was. In August, he was invited to The View, where his reception wasn't quite as welcoming as Howard Stern's, with the four hosts repeatedly berating him for the derisive comments he made toward the women he worked with. But despite the bad press, Jason was free and he was on kind of a victory lap, while his lawyer, Paul, had just pled guilty to conspiracy to promote prostitution and was sentenced to 3 years probation and a $50,000 fine. A while later, Natalia, now going by Natalie, got time served, meaning the months that she spent in jail were considered sufficient punishment for her work, allowing her to move back to Montreal, where she eventually published a relatively successful book about her time as New York's #1 escort. All in all, things...
How come the #1 escort in New York is from Canada? Does that make sense? Are New Yorkers just stupid? Like, for real? You'd figure to be someone from, like, one of those, like, Eastern European countries or something, but from Canada? Is that why she was so popular? She's bringing them Tim Hortons or something? With their $2,000 an hour or whatever she was charging?
Things were looking up, and Jason slowly but surely got back on the horse as an escort mogul. Although he quickly hit another obstacle in late 2011 when he got caught providing a prostitute to a customer for 3 days at the Trump International Hotel, along with just short of $5,000 worth of cocaine on the side. While the recipient of these services was never specified, Jason claimed that it was extremely famous country musician Billy Ray Cyrus, adding that the girl he had provided was not an escort, but instead a babysitter. According to Jason's side of the story, he saved Billy Ray Cyrus's life by calling the authorities when Billy was suffering from an overdose. Despite how
we might never have had achy breaky heart if it wasn't for this disgusting New York pimp.
Little proof there was about this story, the inflammatory and dubious nature of it was very much intentional. It was in Jason's best interest to make it as big of an event as possible to distract the public from another controversy that was rearing its head at the time. You see, whenever Jason wasn't pushing drugs or pimping girls, he was partying. In one of these instances, he went to Florida, where he met a girl named Julia Sumnicht, a friend of an associate of his named Zoltan. She eventually left Jason's apartment and went to her place, took a few selfies where she seemed to be very much out of it, and the very next day, on the 15th of March 2010, she was found dead in her bed by her roommate. Jason and Zoltan had a falling out a few months later, and the case never turned into much. But
I think he absolutely killed her by giving, like, overdosing her or something. People have accused this guy of murdering this chick, and I 100% believe it.
As the police backed off from it, the family hired private investigators to find out who was responsible for her death. According to them, Julia and Zoltan...
Yeah, like Zoltan, is that a real name? I thought it was like a fucking genie name or something. Like, are there actual guys walking around called Zoltan? Like, do they pop out of the Vag Blue or something? And the parents are like, oh my god, he's a genie. Let's call him Zolt. Like, I don't know. What is that a real name? That's a weird one.
First went to a nightclub, then went to Jason's apartment, where they stayed for about 2 hours and then left. The thing is, though she was described as seemingly drunk, a toxicology report showed she didn't have enough alcohol in her to actually be drunk. Instead, the real culprit of her altered state in this case was GHB, the date rape drug, which she had so much of that it actually caused her to die. The only time she could have actually ingested the GHB was when she was at Jason's apartment. When asked, Jason admitted that he did have the drug there, but he diverted the accusation by claiming that he himself had almost died from overusing it, implying that it was being used recreationally by all parties. At the time, he was still in custody for the previously mentioned Billy Ray Cyrus incident, and unfortunately, the PIs didn't find enough evidence to convict him of anything. While Jason was...
I mean, it seems pretty cut and dry here. He was just roofing these chicks.
Still on trial, he continued to be as intentionally disruptive to the proceedings as he possibly could, as he believed that it would make his story all the more interesting if someone were to make a biopic of him. To put it generously, his trial was a chaotic circus. He fired his state-appointed lawyer and instead hired Mr. Heller, a big-shot defense lawyer, and he then rejected a very generous plea deal because, in his words, the king of all pimps shouldn't settle for a 5 to 10 year timeout in jail. In the opinion of the district's attorney, Jason was just doing this to stay in the spotlight longer, and indeed, he did manage to secure the attention of a studio called Polsky Films that offered him a big deal, but nothing ever came of it. As time went on, despite how much he dragged his feet during court proceedings, the time came to actually finalize them, at which point he was sentenced to 4 years in prison. His 4 years on the inside were pretty uneventful, and the 4 years that came after his release in 2016 followed suit, with Jason mostly maintaining a low profile. However, it seems that all of his pretending to be insane from years prior was finally catching up to him, as he had become a lot stranger. For a time after his release, he took up sun gazing, which is literally...
This is when it starts to get off the rails insane. And this is how he became famous. How he just... So we finished the beginning part of his life. So he was, he was a pimp. He was a phone sex operator. He made all this money. He lost all this money. He went to prison. He murdered a woman allegedly. He gets out of prison, does nothing for 4 years, and then he starts looking at the sun as his career. Sun gazing is the idea that, like, you're absorbing the sun's natural energy. And there's even reverse sun gazing, where people bend over and absorb sun rays through their assholes and things. But this is how he became famous again, is he decided to stare at the sun until people gave him attention. And it worked.
Really staring at the sun for hours on end, supposedly to show everyone how the sun isn't actually harmful, although Jason himself eventually acknowledged that this wasn't super successful of an endeavor. During one of these sun-gazing sessions, he was approached by the crew of 1 Minute Talk Show, where, after promoting the benefits of staring at the sun...
And like, everyone thinks that it makes you blind. It doesn't make you blind. It doesn't even hurt. Like, I teach people how to do it in 5 minutes. Am I smiling?
He once again retold the story of his involvement with the former New York governor's prostitution controversy, of course, rewriting it to make it seem like he was much more involved than he actually was. The clips of
sun gazing is very bad for you, by the way. Didn't he go blind? I guess you can still see a little bit, but no, it's very bad for your eyes. And there was this, the first time I heard about sun gazing, it was from a guy called Savage or something. And he's also a raw meat carnivore, and he'll ferment meat in jars and shit and eat them, and then he'll just stare at the sun. And he's like, oh, I feel great. And then he gets admitted to hospital every other month for like intense intestinal tract disorders, things. Like, it's actually insane.
Jason got a lot of views online, and while he read through the comments, he noticed a lot of people were calling him
Some of those. Hold on. Before this is how he got his name, MrBased, by staring at the sun. But some of these comments are really funny.
The clips of Jason got a lot of views online, and while he read,
am I smiling because I'm blind?
Through the comments,
bro got this photosynthesis update.
He noticed a lot of people were calling him Based. Liking the word, he took up the name of MrBased due to how similar it sounded to MrBeast. And because there are a lot of YouTubers who make content out of interviewing random people on the street, Jason started popping up on a lot of different YouTube videos.
Yeah. So this is all thanks to YouTube street interviewer shows. They're responsible for bringing this pimp out of literally melting in the sun every day to being like a center of attention again.
Sharing aspects of his life and his views on spirituality.
And after that, I had like 250 out-of-body experiences in 1 year in college. And I became so spiritual.
While most of the people who came up to him had fairly small audiences, all of them collectively helped to get his name out there and build up curiosity online for who Jason was. Meanwhile, he was also trying to set the world record for the most time spent staring at the sun. What an ambitious entrepreneurial mindset to have. And in 2023...
What a record to have. The most time spent staring at the sun. Like, sure, there's got to be blind people that just have that record, though. They just probably stare at the sun all day. Like, there's no way you can beat actual blind people.
Jason was randomly approached by an IRL streamer called OneSonic, who did a short interview with him. And it's at this point that Jason noticed something new. Unlike in the 2000s, when he had to beg for the attention of TV producers and radio hosts, the people interviewing him now were kids with smartphones and computers, broadcasting their content by themselves online. Suddenly, it came to him that instead of having to constantly put on an act so that other people came over and put cameras on him, he could just do it himself. All he had to do was learn how to. And after a few weeks of bothering OneSonic to essentially show him the ropes, the two reconnected and streamed together, although it didn't go so well.
Bro, you got the most fucking people watching you I've ever seen. You got the second most donations I ever got, and you're crying like a bitch that I'm hurting you. Turn this off. Turn this stream off. You're in my house. I don't want you filming. Turn this off. Right now. Turn it off. Turn it off right now. Off.
During these crash outs, Jason would occasionally stop to tell Sonic that he was just kidding, but eventually, this became a very uncomfortable circumstance for Sonic. Thus began Jason's career as an IRL streamer.
He's got googly fucking eyes on his door. Look at this. Is this supposed to be like Pee-wee's Playhouse? What the fuck is this? And there's like a smaller pair of googly eyes. This looks like a weird like dive bar door that you go to, right? You walk into this house, you're absolutely getting a big dose of GHB in your next drink.
For the first 3 months, he averaged 500 viewers, an amount which, while not high enough to make any super real money, was more...
No, don't say that, Turkey Tom. No, rat. 500 viewers isn't enough to make a substantial amount of money. No, don't say that. Oh well, we got called out, chat. You gotta light the stream. You gotta light the stream. I'm suffering over here.
More than enough for him to get harassed out of any
You
establishment.
gotta give me money. You just heard Turkey Tom. He's saying that if you live stream with less than 500 people, you're not gonna make it. Come on, guys.
He walked into.
Man,
and just as he was about to give up, he heard that streamers on Kick could make up to $85 an hour if they got good viewership. And after around 1 month, he was banned, prompting him to switch over to YouTube, where he would end up staying for the foreseeable future, which eventually led him to a guy called Ed Basemaster, a YouTuber with over 2 million subscribers. As the two became friends, many networking doors suddenly swung open for Jason, none of which being nearly as fateful as when Ed called him one night and told him that none other than WorldOfTshirts Joshua Block was making his way around town.
All right, so now we come full circle. Joshua Block, the kid. This is the pony that MrBased is gonna ride right back to the top.
And was about to pass his building, suggesting that Jason should show up and meet him. Jason had officially heard the call, and their legendary first meeting would take place.
Hey, my name is MrBased. I'm the world's greatest streamer. Why is this group walking past me?
Let's go.
Who are you guys?
Scram, bitch.
Who are you guys?
Scram.
Who are you?
Scram, bitch.
Who are you?
I'll sue your ass. Scram.
No, who are you? Who are you? I just want to know who you guys are.
Although the meeting went pretty poorly, there was no denying the...
See, these people all probably paid WorldOfTshirts $50 to get pictures with him, to get live streams with him, because that's what he was charging. WorldOfTshirts was like, look, if you come up to me, $50. And people just following this guy around.
Entertainment.
But this is actually kind of a based first encounter. Scram, you loser. Get out of here. But unfortunately, he was able to worm himself into this guy's inner circle.
And when Michael Quinn, Josh's then manager, saw the interaction, he decided to play peacemaker in much the same way he previously had when he had manufactured the beef between Josh and Daniel Larson. The two of them would eventually become best buddies, but for now, he was still doing his own thing. And just a few days after meeting Josh, he met up with a new character called Carl, also known as Carldo or Carl 3. They went to a bar together, where they were promptly kicked out due to trolls calling the place up. When they went to a pizza place, the same thing happened, and so out of frustration, they eventually just went back to Jason's apartment, where Carl conducted a short interview. During the interview, Jason admits to personally meeting Jeffrey Epstein, implying that he had a weirdly high opinion of him, describing him as tall, handsome, and swaggy. Epstein apparently spent $30,000 to $40,000 a night on girls from New York Confidential, during which he didn't even ask them for sex. All he wanted was for them to party and do blow with him.
I don't know anything about like people being recorded, like celebrities, this and that. The girls always told me everything. I never heard it.
It's the Epstein collab. It's happening.
Any big name. Maybe they told him here's extra money, don't tell Jason. Right. Who knows? Right.
Jeffrey was so popular with Jason's girls that they would fight for the appointments, as it allowed them to meet a bunch of powerful men. Despite the cordial relations Jason and Carl had at the start, things quickly turned sour. About a month after the first meeting, the two had a spat on stream, during which they argued over who was a bigger piece of shit. Jason argued Carl was a sociopath, while Carl called Jason a manipulator who pretended to be a hippie. Jason insisted the only reason he was calling him was to wish Carl the best and ask him to never approach him again.
See you. I hope I never see you again.
Okay, but I didn't call you a narcissist. You just made that up.
You call me every word in the book.
I call you a sociopath. I slept with more guys, more girls than anyone. I slept with more girls, obviously, than anyone you've known in your whole life.
Despite supposed
cringe. Holy shit. I've slept with more women than you ever have. Oh my goodness. This guy's like so cringe. Holy shit.
Not wanting to associate with Carl anymore, the two still talk to each other, albeit it's not very friendly. Around this time, Jason was streaming to his 3,500 followers, when a user called Starbucks Nazi sent a text-to-speech message containing the N-word with the hard R 40 times in a row, which led to a suspension. And after that, one Sonic came back into the picture. Following their introduction in 2023, the two alternated between being acquaintances and then being openly hostile toward each other. They started occasionally streaming together sometime in 2024, following Jason's glow-up as a content creator, with Jason going as far as to buy Sonic a hat from Balenciaga. This was a bit tone-deaf.
Ah, fuck. Oh, look, it's the 1 billion yen lottery. Let's go.
Since it happened around the time Balenciaga had children posing in sexualized ways in their advertisements, so some people weren't too happy about them getting the hat. But regardless, all of that aside, the two were such good friends during this time, they were even getting high together.
Look, I'll start using Brave eventually, okay? I'll start using Brave eventually.
Jason gave Sonic an unspecified drug at his apartment, only to then kick him out and send him back home. It's a miracle the journey didn't end with someone discovering his body the next day in a ditch. And with that in mind, it really comes as no surprise that they had another falling out. At some point, the two of them had a fight after Jason called Sonic a retard in a joking manner. He took it pretty personally and stormed out of the apartment, grunting and huffing in a way pretty similar to that carrot-eating pufferfish. You know the one. Oh, he's so cute. Look at him. Jason then talks to him through the window.
People got angry when I showed that pufferfish. I got a lot of angry messages saying like, oh, you can't show us the pufferfish. It makes us sad. It's just, I don't know.
To talk him down before handing him a beer.
Hold on. You want a beer, Sonic? Yeah, give me a motherfucking beer. No, but you stream outside like your anger that you're not in here. We stream inside. People love this shit. It's content, all right? Tell me when you need another beer.
About a month later, all that bad blood culminated in a very weird interaction outside of Jason's apartment where, after a brief argument between Sonic and some girl, Jason comes out of the building to see what the ruckus is about. And it turns into...
It was like a 3-second ad. Why are your ads 15 seconds? Japanese ads are smaller and more efficient, obviously. Just like the penis.
Into a very awkward argument.
What the hell is going on out here? Who's making all this noise? I'm so tough compared to you. You cannot murder me. Stop talking shit. Stop talking shit to me. Okay?
Why do people do that as well? Like they get in their face and start like basically kissing them, trying to intimidate them. It's so cringe. Are they going to end up making out?
Stop fucking talking shit, all right?
But the fight did not end there, as after Jason let Sonic go, Sonic went in for seconds.
What's this bitch saying? I can't understand a single word she's saying. What's going on?
I just crossed the line.
Obviously, this incident severely damaged the relationship between the two, as they pretty much stopped streaming together for the next half a year, during which Jason was openly hostile towards Sonic, leading to this little gem.
We will go press Sonic without hurting Sonic or touching Sonic. I will track that bitch down, and using only my mouth, I will fuck Sonic.
But just...
What does he mean by that? Wait, what? What do you mean by that, sir? Using only your mouth, you're going to fuck him? I think we know how he survived through prison without dying all those years. Why he was the most popular guy in the jail cell, right? I think we now know the answer to that one.
Just as the drama boiled over, Jason got into another beef with a guy named Waxiest, who found out about the ongoing investigation into Julia Sumnick's death. The two had a big argument out on the street, as Waxiest expressed he was not comfortable with the idea of Jason hanging around women, given his history of allegations. Jason, meanwhile, accused him of slander and acted like he had no idea what he was talking about, before threatening to sue him.
Call me a murderer again.
I'm going
Call me a murderer again.
Break me then.
Call me a murderer
Break
again.
me then.
Call me a murderer
Break
again.
me then.
Come on, so I can
Do
sue
something.
you.
Do something, you twig.
The convo becomes completely unhinged from this point on.
Is the tension between them? Am I sensing something? This is weird shit. Like, why do people do this? Like, I'm pretty pro personal space. This is some weird shit.
As Jason goes back and forth.
This is some booty pirate shit going on here.
Between threatening to beat Waxiest up and then inviting him to his apartment for a drink within a span of 3 seconds.
I love you, bro. You're a good guy.
Hey,
You're a good guy.
all right.
Come back to my house. Let me make you a drink.
Undecided whether he wanted to get away from Waxiest or continue to badger him, Jason decides to sprint, but then turns around and starts throwing bananas at him. Literal bananas. He just...
Is he going to say the phrase, "How do you like them bananas"? He has to, please. If there's any comedic bone in this man's body, he will say, "How do you like them bananas?"
He saw bananas on the street and he started throwing them. At some point, Jason gives up on the whole pacifist charade, and after Waxiest continues to ask probing questions, this happens.
Come on, dude. Why you running so
Monkey business? That's another good one,
Oh,
too.
he snapped my phone. Good thing I got a phone case on. That's assault. That's fucking... I'll report you for that right there. That's on his stream.
I could tell him you call me a murderer.
Eventually, Jason just walks off and leaves the cameraman, the aforementioned Carl, to chat with Waxiest, which seemed to make the situation die down for the time being. After this incident, Jason got really angry with Carl and ended his friendship with him, supposedly because he was a dirty, super racist sociopath. His words, not mine. Later on in the same month, a guy named Ronald, who claims to be Sonic's boyfriend, walked up to Jason's door and started knocking violently, demanding that he open it. While it's hard to make out a lot of this interaction, Jason came away from the situation believing that this random guy had something to do with Carl, who came to visit the apartment shortly after the interaction. The two then had a very tense exchange, during which Jason goes for the old reliable and slaps his phone out of his hand.
Do you know that guy?
That's like a kill shot to live streamers, though. If you cover the camera or if you knock the camera out of their hands, that's the only thing that they really suffer from, because that cucks the content for them and that cucks their paycheck. So it's actually good advice. I think if you see a live streamer in the street and they're being abusive, just go up to them and slap their phone out of their hands. Teach them a lesson. They'll be like, "You can't touch my phone. You can't touch my phone." Suffer.
Listen, Mitch, come on. No. What are you doing? Look me.
Like, it's amazing these guys don't slap his phone out of his hand back. Like, because they're so content cucked. They just have to, like, "Oh, we gotta cause trouble for the camera." Duress Studio for 2 says throwing bananas is where he slipped up. That's a good one. I like that.
Guys, what are you doing? Do you know that guy?
You notice that after he threw the bananas, he split. Anyone? No.
Carl.
He did run away though after throwing
It's hard to
bananas.
know how much Carl knows, and honestly, it's pretty uncertain how much of these altercations are real and how much of them are exaggerated for dramatic effects to get more stream viewers, but we're kind of getting in the weeds here. So far, we've already established that Jason is willing to do a lot of pretty nasty things for the sake of attention or money. And if true, he definitely wouldn't be the only content creator who fakes drama and goes out of his way to look for conflict.
Hey, look, you've got Ice Poseidon, Asian Andy, and I don't know who this guy is. I like Asian Andy. I think of all the Andys in the IP2 saga, I think Asian Andy's my favorite one. He's pretty. I remember seeing him go to Korea, and I'm very much a fan of when they got that gypsy out of their house. So if you're not aware what happened, this guy's family member was renting like a house, and a gypsy moved in or something. Like some traveler moved in that wouldn't refuse to leave. She was an Airbnb, and she would go in there and she was squatting. It was a squatter, I guess. Maybe not a gypsy. Maybe it was just a squatter. So what Asian Andy did, he hired the most annoying person possible he could find to be that chick's roommate. And he was just insufferable. And they drove her insane and forced her out of the house. It's so funny. The squatter drama with Asian Andy, that is the funniest thing I think that's ever come out of their sector.
Knowing that it's going to boost his viewership and get people engaged. Although his strategy did...
I'm not really an IP2 watcher, though. Like, that's the only time I've seen it, really. I did see a little bit of Asian Andy, I'll say. But that was like back in 2017. Like a long, long time ago. So the only thing I've ever really seen is Asian Andy going to Korea, and where I saw him fishing in a fishing restaurant, whatever. And then the homelessness squatter saga, that was really funny. But no, apart from that, I don't watch these.
Prove successful at getting new viewers, is it really worth it if it means finding yourself awake in the middle of the night, throwing bananas at people you barely know in the hopes it gets you like 50 extra people to watch your stream? By the looks of it, MrBased was well on his way to being yet another struggling IRL streamer, making a fool out of himself online for scraps of engagement. But things would soon change, although I wouldn't say that change was for the better. A while after they first met, Jason finally wiggled himself into Joshua Block's orbit, actively streaming with him. His fans multiplied, demanding he spend as much time with Josh as possible, and Jason gladly obliged. As the two of them started hanging out regularly, spending hours streaming in Jason's bizarre man cave and going out for drinks, MrBased slowly but surely edged out Josh's former manager. It's not really surprising, since MrBased actually put in effort to be entertaining and keep things interesting when he was streaming with Josh, while the most that Michael Quinn did was feed off of Josh's fame, only to do nothing with it. And in June of
see, everyone in World of T-Shirts life is just using him for more money. And oh my god, so the thing is, we've got some updates actually from Josh Block. So he puts up like 16 TikToks a day, and it seems like earlier in the day he was in Kyoto, because this is the Kamogawa. Oops. This is the Kamogawa, like a river that runs through central Kyoto. And it seems like, this is kind of weird, but it seems like he's staying in Tokyo, but then he's taken the Shinkansen, the bullet train, just more back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Like he's doing day trips between Tokyo and Kyoto. Every night when I visit the family, might drunk, spent more time than I needed to in Kyoto. Now I'm heading back to Tokyo. And this is like a shuhai, so this is like only 3% alcohol or something. But these are actually pretty tasty. These ones are, it's not a shuhai, is it? Shuhai? These are actually pretty tasty. These are pretty grapefruit ones. All he's doing is riding the train and getting drunk. It's kind of my dream. It should be me. It should be me. No. But there you go. There's the bullet train. He's heading back to Tokyo. So people are saying that the Tokyo police are trying to get him. I never ride the bullet train sober. No, actually, you can aim. This is actually A-okay on the bullet train. It's perfectly reasonable to get drunk on the bullet train. And basically everyone on the train is drinking as well. Japan is honestly an alcoholic's wet dream. But it looks like he's headed back to Tokyo, so he's still not dead yet. So I've heard that the Japanese police are actually searching for him, though, through unofficial channels.
2024, while Jason streamed, Carl sent a text-to-speech message saying that he would sexually assault Josh, to which Josh replied by threatening to kill whoever said that, earning MrBased a 6-day ban on Kick. Despite being on seemingly worse terms than ever, Jason had a few fellow streamers over at his house, and one of them was Carl. I don't know why they made up so quickly, given Carl indirectly got him banned off of Kick by triggering Josh to make death threats on stream, but regardless, their friendship was bound for the floor, as Carl made the mistake of bringing his girlfriend with him, and Jason simply couldn't stop himself from sexually harassing her whenever they got close.
And stick it so deep in her mouth that like she nearly comes.
That's so fucking creepy. Holy shit. What is the appeal? Like, why? I don't know.
I felt it.
Oh my god.
What the fuck? No one in the room seemed that bothered, with the cameraman mentioning how he should probably stop to avoid getting canceled.
Hold up, Space. I gotta protect you here. You're about to be Mr. Canceled if you don't watch yourself, bro.
But that did not stop Jason, as he continued to grope this girl until he took it just a few steps too far.
You put your finger up my ass crack.
I know, but that doesn't count.
I guess it kind of shows the kind of people he likes to hang out with, that no one seems that concerned, as even Carl...
Like, should I feel bad for this woman? She's staying in this position. Like, oh, no, you can't. She's victim blaming. She's in a situation where this guy keeps trying to touch her and keeps forcing food into her mouth and then operating her jaw and her head like a chewing for her. And then by her own words, he sticks his finger in her asshole, and she can leave or stay and get clout from a live stream. I don't know. Maybe I'm not supposed to feel too sad for her. Like maybe she made her bed and now she has to lie in it. I don't know.
Remains in pretty good humor about the whole thing and just tells Jason to stop, which has little to no effect at all. Eventually, Carl goes to leave Jason's apartment, and when Kimberly tries to follow him out, she gets grabbed.
Wait, is this from this guy's collaborating with Slightly Homeless? Isn't that the guy that's currently being beat up in Japan? Or is it a different Slightly Homeless? Or all these people slightly homeless? I'm pretty sure that's the guy that was in Japan, right? Slightly Homeless? Am I right about that?
Grabbed and pulled back in by Jason. Even stranger is the fact that it turned out Jason's objective was to convince Kimberly to have sex with another guy at the party, not him.
Quickly, let this motherfucker get laid, like, correctly.
Yeah, come with me and Carl.
Come. Let me lend you to my bedroom quickly. Let this motherfucker get laid, like, correctly, because you know how to fuck. Let this motherfucker get laid correctly. Carl won't care.
Just a few hours later, when he was being pressed about it, Jason spoke as if he had no idea about anything that happened.
Okay, so apparently Bob Chew says that Slightly's in Japan but not beat up. But he did have a British man spit in his mouth. That guy that got his Kick channel banned. What is it? Not EBP, sorry. What is it? DBDR? No, wait. DBR 666 spat in Slightly Homeless's mouth. So that did occur. So would you rather be beaten up or have someone else's spit go in your mouth? I don't know. Rather, either of those are pretty bad.
at the streamer party, saying he would never unconsensually touch a girl, let alone Carl's girlfriend, who in his estimation was unattractive. The excuse didn't really hold up though, as it seems someone called the police and informed Kick of what was going on, causing MrBased to get banned and lose his partnership with the website. It's at this point that Jason goes completely insane, threatening to kill Carl because of the whole situation and accusing him of setting him up.
You want to touch grass?
Let's find Carl, and I'm gonna kill him. Literally, I'm gonna kill him.
You ain't killing shit.
No, not literally kill him, but like in that game.
They did meet up again.
He doesn't even know how to say in Minecraft. What a boomer! He's a boomer!
And Jason jumps on Carl and throws down with him. After that's over, he has a meltdown at Kimberly, demanding that she write Kick an email claiming she was personally responsible for him being kicked out of their partnership program, despite her insistence that she hadn't said anything to anyone.
I didn't do anything to you.
I did.
Everyone said you took my KCIP.
I didn't do
How
anything.
tell them?
I didn't do anything.
Tell them right now.
I didn't do anything.
Did I do anything to you?
No, you didn't. I said it multiple times that you
We
didn't
both
do
lost
anything.
our KCIP because of you.
I didn't do anything though.
Tell them.
Whatever clout Jason had managed to build up for himself via his streams with Josh Block was now pretty useless, since without the ability to stream on Kick and having lost his partnership, he would now have to start over from scratch on another platform. Realizing what he'd just done, Jason went into full damage control mode. His justification for harassing Kimberly was that he was trying to get her to reveal herself as a cheater so that Carl left her.
And then when I tickled her on her ribs, he goes, "Oh, you put your thumb in my ass." Like,
what a selfless guy. Additionally,
Tickling people and sticking your finger in their ass to own the haters and prove they're cheating. That's an interesting strategy. Bold strategy, Cotton. Studio with 5 says, how many degenerate gaijins are in Japan right now? It's certainly changed since I was last there in 2006. Too many. Too many. The weak yen is very frustrating. I mean, I get paid in US dollars, so it's fine for me. But there are certain locations that are now I would advise you against visiting. And Tokyo is absolutely overwhelmed at the moment, and a lot of streets in Kyoto as well. Osaka is actually not so bad. Osaka is still enjoying the benefits of not being that well known. So I can still go to my favorite places. I can still go around the streets without worrying too much about foreigners. But there is more. There is more. We get more Chinese and Koreans in Osaka than we do Westerners, honestly. But like the main street of the Tombari or something, yeah, it's quite a lot of foreigners.
he claimed that he never touched her ass and instead was just tickling her ribs, which would still be kind of weird even if it were true. But almost immediately after, his tone changed, and he began calling Carl a cuck, a sicko, and a sociopath for letting him disrespect Kimberly, although he never admits that this was in the form of touching her ass.
he's a gifted performer. I'd even watch him after all this. I just don't want him around me. I could get $500,000 in subs to do something with Carl, and Carl make it not worth it later. Trust me. I'm also getting to the point of being afraid of being physical with Carl. You know, I'm trying to.
What does he mean by that?
Cuck. I'm cucking Carl, not flirting like I like her.
I'm afraid of getting physical? What do you mean by that?
To leave my home because I have no other way to get rid of Carl except flirting or touching or cucking.
If his initial intention was to rewrite the narrative.
What does he say? Like he's molesting women to get back at Carl? That's just the women is paying for that.
In his favor, so that Kick gave him a second chance and unbanned him. He had completely forgotten about it at this point, as it just turned into another incoherent MrBased rant. Afterwards, Jason vowed to never stream with any of the streamer friends again, adding that he would get a restraining order against.
That's a word buddy right there.
Carl if only he knew his name and address. As for Kimberly, Jason claimed she was lying about the assault so that she could sue him for his $5 million net worth. It's unknown if there's even an ounce of truth behind the claim of him having that much money, but regardless, Jason was confident he was going to keep making money off of streaming, if not through his own, through Joshua Block. It's interesting how his career path went from pimping and exploiting young women to pimping and exploiting a mentally challenged person. It's almost like you can make out a pattern here. After 6 days, his Kick ban was over, and he immediately fired up another stream, during which he approached this random woman at a food stall. At first, their interaction was pretty normal, and then this happened.
Kiss me back.
You're bad.
No, I didn't do it on purpose. I was just, I thought you said so. You went,
You guys.
His whole normal dude persona quickly fell apart after that. When feigning ignorance didn't work, he tried to explain that he did it to get 10 subs. He then insisted on trying to get her to go to a bar with him, which she was understandably kind of upset about.
You can't do that to women.
Do you want me to buy you drinks or not?
No, that was weird. You just force kissed me.
Oh, Jesus, I'm the wrong guy to say that to.
No,
they accused me of it the other day.
Yes.
They accused me of putting my thumb up someone's ass.
I don't know what possessed
Why would you tell them that?
him to admit he was accused of even more, but it's not the worst thing he does here. He eventually turns the camera.
Look, I may have tricked you into kissing me today, but yesterday they accused me of sticking my thumb up a woman's ass. What do you mean by that? Is this just the average American experience? Going outside, these live streamers need to be, exactly where they need to fucking go. Holy shit. Thumbs up, yeah. Oh my goodness. She loved it. I mean, if she was already going to kiss his cheek, she kind of fell for his trap. I'm not feeling too bad for this woman, but the absolute weirdness coming from this guy is kind of palpable, right?
Away as the two have a full-on argument.
Dude, what the He just like kissed me on my mouth without my permission.
You told me to kiss you on the cheek and I turned around.
And you turned and you kissed me on my lips on purpose.
You kissed me and I went
you
like
asked
that.
if I could have, yo, it's weird and you're smiling about it like you're a creepy person. You turn the camera away because you know it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
No, I'll punch you in your face and talk to me.
After asking for her Instagram one more time, he finally turns around to leave, until she makes the mistake of calling him a pervert. And just as he tries to leave again, he throws one last jab.
You're a fucking pervert.
You're like a fucking weird redhead. Chill out. I thought you were joking.
He doesn't change his tune.
Why are redheads catching strays in this? Oh my god, poor redheads.
After leaving either, pondering about what could be wrong with that girl for rejecting him so strongly. And with every word, he just dug a deeper hole.
She's like, just get away from me. I mean, come on. I'm like, she's fucking fat and ugly with weird red hair and she's like my age.
She's fat. Like, this is like possibly the most cringe thing you can do is when you're hitting on someone and when they deny you, you're like, well, she was fat and ugly anyway. It's like, then why were you hitting on her in the first place? You tried to get her Instagram several times. You tried to trick her into kissing you. You were hitting on her. But then when she doesn't want it, then it's like, oh no, she's like, oh no, this bitch, she's fat and ugly. I wouldn't want to do it anyway. It's just sour grapes. It's just sour grapes.
Like, I wouldn't. I was doing it for chat.
To no one's surprise, he got suspended from Kick the same day. What does come as a bit of a surprise is that, once again, a few days later, his account was unbanned, and he continued to milk his connection with Josh Block, which is really all he could do at this point since everyone else had the wits about them to cut off contact and not associate. In early July, Josh was on a stream getting flooded with text-to-speech messages, leading to a much-expected breakdown.
I'll ruin you! I'm phoning the police! I'm suing you! Shut up!
As you can see, he was already quite upset at this point, but it wasn't until a call-in that he completely crashed out.
MrBased, how does it feel to exploit a young disabled person like Josh for abuse?
Disabled?
Just go to rehab, just go to rehab, Josh, go to rehab,
Disabled?
Josh, go to rehab, Josh, go to rehab,
Disabled?
Josh, go to rehab,
Disabled! I'm gonna fucking ruin you!
This little...
Okay, so if a person like this can make allegedly $400,000 a month on TikTok, is it time we get rid of the internet? This is the question. If society has allowed these people, by just being spurging out, to cause enough entertainment that they can make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, is it a time to say we get rid of the internet for good and just go back to messenger pigeons or something? Maybe we may have gone too far. Go back.
Interaction gave Josh an addiction to saying the N-word.
You're in there.
Clearly, he isn't really someone.
Oh no! Look, you're gonna be addicted to a lot of things, but the hard R, that's I mean, it's like I've already hung out with Max, but I know what that's like.
Who can exercise judgment to the best of his ability, and Jason was capitalizing on that as much as possible, ensuring that there was always a camera on him to capture him responding to the TTS Dono messages. A while later, an extremely drunk Josh decided to go out for a haircut, during which he fell backward on the street as he wasn't able to even walk properly at this point. At some point during the stream, Josh even began freaking out in public, screaming the words "make it stop" at seemingly no one, prompting Jason to ask if he was hallucinating. As he was carried back into the apartment by a couple of police officers, Jason said that he was going to turn the stream off, supposedly because he didn't want to exploit Josh while he was vulnerable.
But like the only thing he's doing is exploiting this mentally challenged person, Josh, right? This guy is absolutely going to freak out in Japan, and if it does, I pray that he's not committed, because we saw earlier in the stream what actually happens to people when that does go down in Japan, and it's not fun. It's not great. This is like the zins. Apparently, this is a meme that he's always dropping his zins or something as well. This is like actually like quite sad though when you think about it. I mean, not even if you think about it, just it's so obvious that like everyone around this person is spurging out to such a degree that they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he's just attracting all of these leeches, all of these parasites that can make entire careers off of being around and exploiting this mentally disabled person.
Gee, I really wonder what all of the recording him nearly passing out on the sidewalk was about.
What's happening? Jesus, Josh, what's going on? It is.
Stop!
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, Josh, you know you're not drinking, so whatever it is going to wear off.
Stop!
This moment sparked a lot of controversy and blew up on YouTube, bringing even more negative attention to both Josh and Jason. And as a result, Josh's grandpa barred him from hanging out with MrBased, even threatening to kick Josh out of the house if he got...
Oh, there we go. We're going to add for Hero Wars. I hate this game because I mean, I've never played it, but like these games never look like this. It's like so infuriating.
Kept associating with him.
But I'm gonna get you a house tomorrow. Can I get you an apartment tomorrow in the city?
You could, but no. You're a bitch.
So like what's happening here is he's trying to He's trying to isolate this mentally challenged man away from his parents. He's like, I'll get you a house. I'm your friend. Just get away from your grandparents so I can control you and milk you for more money. Like, it's his best girl. His best girl is escaping the stable, and he's got to get her back. It's disgusting.
Influence on Josh. That's what's very funny. No.
Josh, you all right?
No streaming, okay? Make sure that your live stream is off.
All right, we're gonna hang out. Our next time we hang out, it's no live stream. I promise you. I promise you. I love you, Josh.
This is like a 50, 60-year-old man trying to like get it. It's like ringing up his grandparent, like Josh's grandparents. Like, can Josh come out to play, please? Oh, no, Josh, come back. I love you, Josh. He actually says I love you. Like,
you sound good. Swear to God, I will never lie to you.
He's even got the fucking pimp hat.
Out again, he's gonna kick me out of the house.
I want your grandfather to love me, and I want to get you an apartment. I'll keep the stream off.
Turn off your live, okay?
You got it. I'll see you tomorrow.
Criticism was coming in from all sides, including his own fans, who would send in paid messages to tell him he was exploiting a mentally unstable autistic guy. He had this response.
This is just what I do. I'm not finding someone and exploiting them or whatever.
Yes, he
I'm
is.
trying to make money at live streaming. I'm trying to find content anyway.
It's pretty funny how his denial is actually an admission of exactly the thing he's being accused of. And as public opinion rapidly soured on MrBased, people once again started digging up his past, bringing up the issue of Julia Sumnicked on his stream. This time, he didn't just exculpate himself by claiming he drank the same stuff as she did, but he also added that Zoltan only pretended to drink it, suggesting that if someone had killed her, it was Zoltan.
I never even met her. And he came upstairs to the apartment at midnight one night. I was sleeping in my bed. He knocks on my door. Jason, I want to introduce you to someone. He shows off a hot chick to me. We hang out for a while. He goes, you want some GHB? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, it tastes like shit. And then he goes and pretends to sip some because I know him. He gives it to the girl. She sniffs it. She goes, ah. And that was it. And then I got really sick from the GHB a couple minutes later, 10 minutes later. I don't know how long.
He absolutely tried to roofie that chick. Guaranteed. And
I'm like, I got to go to bed. I was embarrassed. I was going to throw up in front of him. And that was it. And I don't remember anything. And I woke up on the floor with vomit all over me. With Zoltan telling me that the girl was dead, and what's he gonna do? That's all. Do I know for a fact Zoltan killed this chick? No, but if he didn't kill her, who did? Of course.
You killed her.
Fortunately for him, the people who continued to watch his stream didn't care about how terrible of a person he potentially was. They were just there for the content. And Jason was more than willing to do whatever he could to keep that content coming. So much so that around this time, he got Josh to move out of his grandpa's apartment.
I'm moving out.
Well, but you don't know when you're moving out and stuff.
Yeah.
Look.
It's our secret.
We got a secret that you got.
This is actually really creepy. This is the thing is he's retarded, so I guess he's got like mentally not an adult, but he's adult legally. And this guy's like, shh, don't tell your parents. We're gonna get you out of the house and get you in it. We're gonna isolate you from them. That's some creepy ass shit. It's exactly the same as like he was pimp in the past and he's a pimp now.
You guys will never figure out, right?
Yeah.
Except you just spilled the beans a little bit.
His grandparents were under the impression that he was just going to go to Puerto Rico for 5 days, unaware that Jason was taking him to a $136.
How can he move out? He's getting so much money from money is not an issue because he's making $400,000 a year from TikTok. He can afford an apartment. And these guys can afford to go into a little bit of debt so they can make more money on the back end exploiting this guy. So that's how it's because he's got so much money. He's the golden goose, but he doesn't know what he's doing with it.
Or a night hotel where they dedicate their time to pushing out as much streaming as possible. In mid-August, Josh got a nasty rash on his face, prompting Jason to take him to a doctor's appointment. Naturally, he pulled out a camera and started recording, showing Josh's cold sores to the public. Immediately after, while they were in the doctor's waiting room, he lit a cigarette and handed it to Josh, who is not a smoker, meaning every puff he took sent him into a coughing fit. Luckily,
yeah, let's take a smoke in the hospital while you're getting your fucking herpes checked out on your nose. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, I think the doctor thought this was monkeypox, but it turned out not to be. But maybe it's a new form of monkeypox.
For Josh, they somehow didn't get kicked out of the hospital, and the doctor eventually walked into the room to check on him, explaining that the rashes looks like monkeypox. Jason's response was pretty interesting.
Rashes on my arm and my neck. I don't know if what it is. It was itching right before I left for Punta Cana.
We're hoping it's psoriasis.
Or eczema.
Eczema, that was the word.
It looks like possible monkeypox I want to test for.
Are you sick? Monkeypox? Isn't that scary?
I just want to make
Oh, yeah, test
sure.
for it.
Let me
Holy.
test for it.
Have you heard of monkeypox?
When Josh tried to ask what his options are, Jason butted in again.
What would be the...
Like, it turns out that it wasn't monkeypox, but like, you know what they're doing to this kid after the cameras turn off.
Are you guys taping me?
Yeah, of course, of course.
What would be the
do not turn this off at the 1 minute point? Thank you.
what would be the treatment if it's monkeypox?
You're not.
Where did you go?
It has to be.
No, we're turning up, but where did you go to medical school? We're just curious. We have OCD.
Long Island University.
I love that school. God bless you.
Okay.
I'm 57. I graduated in 85.
The whole thing was almost surreal in how comically evil Jason came across, and some people thought it had to be staged, although there's no proof that that's the case. Luckily, the monkeypox test came back negative, and like the content goblin he is, Jason made sure to record that as well.
And then he's got it all over his neck and all over his nose. Like, what causes this? Like, that's some weird shit.
We told her that you went on vacation and what happened to your psoriasis and everything, right?
Yeah.
Then what'd she say? Thank God you told me?
Yeah.
Because she thought you had the most contagious.
He's violating HIPAA here. Don't you have to be a medical professional to violate HIPAA? I don't think that a non-doctor can violate HIPAA. I'm fairly certain of that. But I don't know.
Disease in the world?
Yeah.
As insane as Jason's situation with Josh is on its own, there's a character of the story I've been deliberately omitting. So let's go back a little bit to meet a guy called Alex Novell.
I've done a documentary on Josh on my YouTube channel. You guys can check that out. It's pretty cool. It's just kind of like a slice of life of Josh's tour. Yeah, happy to be here. MrBased W, great guy.
Alex is a YouTuber known for making in-depth documentaries about weird people. Given he was on Jason's stream, it gave people the impression that he would make a relatively positive documentary about Jason and Josh, since the two seemed to be pretty close at the time. Eventually, Alex came clean and expressed that he believed Jason had indeed killed Julia Sumnick via overdose and was now pimping out Joshua Block for his own gain. He even shared a call he'd had with him, wherein Jason talks about how he's expecting Josh to turn on him very soon and was looking forward to it, outright saying that his only interest was to leech viewers off of him because the audience thought he was boring whenever he wasn't around Josh.
Is this Captain Caveman in the background? So in Australia, in Sydney, there's like a knockoff like Disneyland or whatever. I think it's called like Wonderworld or Wonderland or something. I remember going there as a kid, and they had Captain Caveman's slippers was like a ride in the kids' land. It was kind of fun. It was just like one of those, you sit in a thing and it spins around or something. But that's a look at that. This is like a where you put like an idol or a fetish or something. You know, like a demon you're worshipping, and it's just like, this is a very weird man cave.
I can't wait to be done with this kid. Honestly, I know the content is great, but Josh's audience has to see how I'm so much more interesting than him, right? Like, they get that Josh is boring without me now, shouldn't they?
This did not come as much of a shock, since this was just Jason saying what everybody already knew, which is that he was only in it for the content and nothing else. Once this information was released, the LOLcow Live podcast had a segment talking about the whole situation. Jason was invited to explain himself, but before he ever had the chance to speak, Alex gave a live interview.
It was so funny. I never talked about it because the LOLcow Live stuff is very boring to me. They spilled that they have scripts for all of their people. All of their drama is manufactured. It's just like a nonsense show. Everything's fake on there. So I don't know. I guess they're doing well, but except for RTU, right? I don't know.
Heavily criticized Jason for what he did to Josh, bringing up his history of running an escort agency.
Yeah, MrBased is famous for being like a pimp in New York City. He ran an escort agency in the 2000s. So makes sense he's like pimping this autistic kid now.
More importantly, he brought the Julia Sumnick story back to light, and he made an extraordinary claim, saying Jason had admitted to him on a call that he'd killed her.
Did not recognize it as a murder or a homicide.
All right, hold on. I got to clarify what I said. As an IT professional, so this is what Mannequin Tan says. As an IT professional, we go through HIPAA compliance, medical accounts, and even more strictly audit and access is verified quarterly. Absolutely non-doctors can violate. What I meant to say is that someone that goes to the hospital and does not work as a hospital does not violate HIPAA. Like, if you work at the hospital, sure, you can violate HIPAA. But like, if you're just in the room and your friend allows you to come into the room, you're like a non-employee is what I mean by that.
Side immediately because they were very busy responding to a bunch of other overdoses in the area.
So you mean to tell me MrBased murdered a woman?
MrBased murdered a woman.
From here. So Keemstar is where lolcows go to die. He's like the Sharon or whatever. Like he takes them through the river Styx to their ultimate resting place. When a lolcow can no longer support its own weight, like a whale dying on the beach, they go work for Keemstar. That's the last refuge they have. And then they have no soul, they have no creativity, they have no personality. They just read what Daddy Keem gives them, and they collect their meager bucks so they can get one day closer to the grave. That's what you do when you go on the LOLcow podcast.
Alex retells the original story of Julia's death with some new additions, such as the claim that Jason was personally responsible for not only buying the GHB, but also for spiking Julia's drink without her knowledge.
He spiked Julia's drink with GHB. They were hanging out for an hour and a half alone in Jason's apartment, and then she died of a GHB overdose.
After that, Alex exposed just how far the exploitation went, revealing that Jason had made as much as $60,000 in a week and a half of streaming with Josh off of donation messages alone, all while paying Josh about $200 a day and about $800 to $900 for the hotel room. When
So this is what people are asking, like, how can he move out? This is what they're doing, because it seems like World of T-shirts, all he cares about is just getting drunk. So when we're looking at his alcohol totals, and he spent like $15,000 a year on alcohol, and he had like 500,000 calories, whatever, that's a fraction of his earnings. It doesn't matter. It's like a drop in the bucket, because all their money is being absorbed by these, by this guy, this pimp guy.
Jason finally gets on stream. He immediately addresses the claim that he admitted to leeching off of Josh, explaining that this call took place when he and Josh were on bad terms, and that this was his way of expressing how hurt he was.
Love Josh Block. Josh Block is cool as shit.
Yeah.
We hang out much more
What
often.
percentage? What are you paying him? What are you paying him? What are you paying him?
He also claimed that 50% of all the TTS earnings went directly to Josh, and added that he was a very good influence and supposedly helped him drink less. Perhaps seeing that Jason wasn't addressing a lot of the claims made, or pretending that he'd forgotten that, Keemstar decided to bring Alex back on stream, at which point Jason ran away.
I didn't even know he was joining. I just didn't like that you
Wait, is that the same Alex as? Well, never mind.
might join, bro.
Well,
I don't know how to hang up.
Hi,
Please hang up on
Jason.
me.
Don't. Oh my God. This is.
Guys, I'm sorry.
Once again, Keemstar truly does his best work whenever he's talking to a guy named Alex. As Alex joined back in, it was pointed out that Jason had thrown his dog while talking to the LolCow live crew, and I have no idea why this even happened. You can clearly see him flinging his dog off screen for no apparent reason.
What the fuck is he just yeets that puppy?
But after that was out of the way, Alex denied that Jason gave Josh 50% of the donation money, and eventually, Kimberly and Carl got brought on the stream to go over their incident.
So then we went back, and then he just
Is she wearing a Pornhub t-shirt? That's a weird choice.
started like grabbing on me and stuff, and like I don't know, I was just sort of laughing it off as like
Is Geordie using his phone? Seems like he's not paying attention. Geordie, wake up.
just sort of like trying not to make a big deal out of it, and you know, but then it got more and more aggressive, and so he did put his finger in my ass.
With Carl claiming that during their fight, Jason tried to cut him with a key.
Correct. And I didn't go to file a police report because all my information will be public, and he knows people. He threatened me before to hire people to hurt me. And he's just he's a very dangerous person, in my opinion.
Despite how much negative attention had accumulated around Jason at this point, it wasn't enough to stop him from continuing to exploit Josh. Around 2 days after the LolCow livestream, Jason was approached by Alex Novell, who was live, recording him and asking him to admit the truth about Julia, at which point this happened.
Get away from me.
This is what MrBased can see after years of staring into the sun. This is a artist's interpretation of what you can see, what you can expect, the results you can expect when you practice sun gazing.
Call the cops. Get off. Call the cops. Call the cops. He's attacking me. Call the cops. Oh, he's attacking me. Somebody help. Somebody help. This guy just attacked me.
Beat him. Beat his ass. Beat his ass.
Somebody help me. Somebody help me.
News of the incident blew up across social media, with accounts like Drama Alert quickly jumping on the story. It soon made its way to traditional media as well, with articles from Sportskeeda and the Express Tribune. In the moments after, Jason went completely quiet on social media for several days. Meanwhile, Keemstar went as far as to send people to interview anyone living close by in search of him, sending 5 undercover people to sweep the streets, who apparently located him on the same day. This didn't really pan out though, as he was still at large after the tweet. As for Alex, he was invited back on LolCow Live, where he showed the aftermath of the attack. Similar to Carl, his face had been cut, requiring several stitches. He also explained why he had been screaming so loud, saying he wanted to get everyone's attention. At the time of the recording,
is this like cosplay makeup?
He had already filed a police report, and he alleged that while he was doing it, one of Jason's bodyguards called him on the phone and threatened him not to go to the police with it, which every cop in the room apparently heard.
All right.
The cops are looking for him right now. They're trying to find him. If anyone, like if he goes live and anyone knows his location, call the police and tell them his location. They'll go pick him up.
More importantly, he dug up even more info concerning the Julia Sumnick case, finding the original police report from 2019, which contained testimony from Zoltan. According to him, Jason had oral intercourse with Julia after she took the drug, supposedly because she was on her period, which meant he didn't want to have regular intercourse with her. Again, I have no idea what to make of this besides...
Yeah, so he killed her and he drugged her and he tried to grape her. Like, it just happened.
It's that this is absolutely insane and horrific if true. Later on, 2 of Keemstar's contacts were invited onto the show, where they revealed Jason wasn't at his home, despite having all the lights on. Keemstar reveals that there were 4 different teams looking for Jason at the same time, all of whom were unsuccessful. Jason, meanwhile, was still avoiding capture, messaging Josh on August 20th that he would jump off the Brooklyn Bridge because Keemstar had made his life unlivable.
Good. This would be an unironic Keemstar W if this happened.
And probably the funniest part about this entire thing is that Josh just responds saying, "I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe we can see each other in another life. Let me know if there's anything I can do." Josh later shared messages that implied Jason had thrown his phone away and someone else had found it. The day after, Keemstar claimed that Jason was planning to leave the country and had even tried to convince Josh to follow after him. But in the end, all of these plans didn't come to fruition, as Jason finally returned to social media and revealed that he had apparently been with Josh the entire time, meaning the DMs were manufactured to get these narratives going online.
I went through a lot the past couple days. I had Keemstar's lynch mobs coming after me, banging on my windows for like 5, 6, 7 hours a night. Josh and I were camped out in my bedroom, chilling out while people were banging on the windows, going crazy.
At some point, the two then went to a hotel in New Jersey before separating when Jason reached out to a lawyer, who negotiated for him to surrender himself.
But I am surrendering myself to the police. Just got out of the shower. I got to get over there within minutes. And God bless you all. Wish me luck. I love you. Peace.
He claims that Alex had assaulted him first, and that all Jason did was pull the wire out of his camera. In the end, he kept his word and was eventually arrested on charges of assault with a weapon, assault to cause harm, and aggressive harassment. He was ordered to be in court the next day for arraignment. On the same day of his arraignment, he was sent back home, firing up yet another stream as soon as he could. And here, he was notably way more unhinged than usual, and that's saying a lot.
Filming everything I do 24/7 until this matter goes away. I'm not going to talk about the case. I'm not going to talk about that guy. I'm not talking about anyone. But I'm going to live stream my life from now until this all goes away. I'm a streamer and people are talking about this and I've got to fucking act like I don't hear what this. I need to be coached how to deal with this.
He wisely did manage to avoid talking about the ongoing legal case and afterwards went back to his usual antics.
Imagine that this guy who's been taking ketamine for years, disgusting pimp, exploiting disabled people, even he kept his mouth shut. When Mr. Rokita didn't, he had better sense. How does this keep happening? How does this keep happening?
Act like I don't hear what this. I need to be coached how to deal with this.
He wisely did manage to avoid talking about the ongoing legal case and afterwards went back to his usual antics, exploiting Josh for every single text-to-speech shekel that he possibly could. But with MrBased back in the public eye, he wanted to rehabilitate his public image after so many accusations. So he invited a YouTuber called Ian Bick over to his house. While there is a little bit of interesting information in the interview, it was ultimately perceived pretty poorly by Ian's fan base, who took major issue with the fact that the Julia story was never even brought up, probably because Jason wouldn't have agreed to doing the interview if he had to talk about it. And just like every other attempt at rehabilitating his image, the interview did nothing to make people see him as any less of a scumbag. So he just carried on streaming, being that scumbag. During a later stream, Josh was sent into another frenzy by some trolls who were telling him to put the fries in the bag. He immediately flew into a rage upon hearing it, running out on the street, kicking 2 random bystanders, followed by more disoriented screaming. And eventually,
so you can see even like back when he was in New York, and this has been going for a while, just this one phrase is like his entire meme of his community is just to say, put the fries in the bag. To the point where people are actually traveling to Japan to tell him to put the fries in the bag, and then he goes on kicking people, and that's where he kicked 2 Japanese people. So, like, if the police already know who he is, because he's already been booked once, they've likely opened an investigation about him, and he's always being filmed because the only way these people make money is if they film them committing their own crimes. He's just one more comment of put the fries in the bag before getting arrested, likely shot away. It's probably going to happen. Like, he really needs to get out of Japan immediately, because it seems like he can get away with this more in America, but like, it just takes the wrong, like, if he starts hitting a Japanese person, he's in big fucking trouble.
climbing up on someone's car and stomping on it. He and Jason later went back to the apartment where Josh's meltdown continued, only being put to a stop when he started hitting Jason's camera. There was really no end in sight when it came to milking him for content. The owner of the car Josh stomped on later came to Reddit to vent about the situation, providing proof of the damage to his car. He also mentioned he had called the police, although the post was later deleted. Unfortunately, this incident was yet another low for World of T-Shirts, where even the old Mayor Flanagan, a self-appointed Joshua defender, had to step in and give people assurance that Josh recognized this was a mistake and had agreed to attend counseling. But unsurprisingly, nothing really changed, and within a few days, Josh was back to his regularly scheduled freakouts. But between all of these embarrassing, insane, and random antics, internet sleuths were trying to dig into what was really going on.
How are the fries in Japan? Pretty good. Really good, actually. If you get them from McDonald's, they're pretty good. You can't get fish and chips in Japan. That's good. That's unfortunate. And KFC's fries are shit. You can't get gravy with KFC in Japan. That's the one bad thing. KFC in Japan is, apart from the mayo pepper twisters or whatever, not very good. Those are the twisters are good, but the fries at basically everywhere except KFC are pretty good.
Farms managed to leak Jason's case summary, revealing he was to appear in court on the 7th. About 3 days later, his YouTube channel was banned for violating terms of service after hackers uploaded a short video referencing P. Diddy, along with a nude picture of Josh. Despite repeatedly begging YouTube to reinstate him, they didn't, so Jason had to make a brand new channel called MrBased Live. Despite how many people realized associating with MrBased was basically willingly walking into a living nightmare, some people still didn't know any better. And one of them was none other than Letty, one of the stars of season 1 of Sam Hyde's reality TV show Fish Tank. In the middle of the stream, Jason suddenly turned aggressive, hurling insults.
Wait, is this the one that's like BPD and like a lot of people watching Fish Tank were simping for her? I never really watched Fish Tank. I saw a couple clips, like when Alex Stein was on there and stuff like that. But I think Letty, was she the one that was like crying and breaking and freaking out on Fish Tank? I know there's some people in here that watch Fish Tank. I know some of you guys are degenerates and watch this show. Was she the one? The crazy bitch that people were simping over?
At her and accusing her of being sent on the show for no other reason than to take away from the entertainment value. As the two went at it, Jason brought up an OnlyFans account made in Letty's name, which she claimed had been made by an ex-boyfriend as revenge towards her, whom she supposedly was filing legal action against. The explanation didn't satisfy Jason, though, as he proceeded to comment on her photos.
Get a reaction out of me. Why should I appeal to them and say, like,
just
oh,
tell
I
them,
shaved just for
like,
that's none of their business.
just tell them it's not hairy anymore so they can respect you.
This is just making you look bad.
This young woman. Just tell
Why is Hank Hill saying these things?
them that you shaved it and it's clean now.
No.
It's still hairy and disgusting?
Anonymous sent $15,
Yes,
buddy. You're just gonna go there, Google-born tell these fans to see our holes.
Josh, if she's going to date you, tell her she got to shave her ass.
Someone called the cops now sent $15.
This was such a blunder that Jason's own fans were siding with Letty and letting Jason know that he was being intensely creepy. Eventually, a viewer donated some money asking for Jason to kick her out of the apartment, prompting her to leave of her own will and start her own stream, where she claimed she was purposely trying to get under his skin since earlier that day, and before they began their stream, he had already brought up her revenge pictures and went on to ask if they were hot or not. This incident with Letty coincided with MrBased fans going on a dono strike, which really stressed him out, as he was making significantly less money than usual already. Meanwhile, on the 1st of November, Alex's documentary on MrBased went up, containing interviews with some of the people he had streamed with. But easily the most important part of the video is the coverage of the Julia case.
The grieving family of a Wisconsin college student who died on spring break last year are working hard on 2 fronts this morning.
Julia Sumnick's family has hired a private investigator to try to find out who was responsible, and the family's also bringing awareness to the dangers of the drug that killed her.
Alex managed to obtain phone calls Jason made to his lawyer from prison, where the two explicitly discussed how they would distract the public away from the case by publicizing the Billy Ray Cyrus story.
You made the post again this morning.
Oh, really? What does it say?
For the girl who they said that you killed.
Oh, shit. Does it make me look bad?
None of the press made it seem like it was you. The family in Wisconsin hired some investigator to look into this, where the investigators in Wisconsin said they believe they have enough to get you on this.
Did you get me and Zoltan or just me?
I think the focus was on you. I don't remember if it was both of you.
So like he just did it. He just did it. I mean, we all knew he did it, but he did it.
Oh my God, that makes me a little scared. What seemed to get more attention? The Jason.
How did they get this phone call? Maybe I zoned out for a second. Like, I'm shocked that this was actually released.
Billy Ray Cyrus story or the Zoltan and the girl story?
In New York, the Zoltan story got nothing.
Oh, got no attention?
Yeah. No, I mean, Gawker didn't pick it up. No one else.
I guess it's just his assistant. It's not protected by attorney-client privileges.
Gotcha. And did my other story, the Billy Ray Cyrus, get a lot of attention?
Yeah.
To deflect the attention from that, am I a great guy? Yeah, I know I am.
The worst part is that this strategy actually succeeded, and Jason got off the hook. Further damning Jason is the fact that he told Alex that Julia's mother would confirm he had nothing to.
Well, it wasn't even his lawyer. It was his assistant. It was Jason's assistant. That's probably why. It should have gone through the lawyer.
Do with Julia's death, only for Alex to contact her and discover that she felt exactly the opposite. Julia's mom blamed all of it on Jason, saying he was an evil man who should be behind bars. But ultimately, it wasn't Jason's efforts to incriminate Zoltan, but instead the incompetence of the police's handling of the case that got him off the hook. According to private investigators that were looking into it, there was a water bottle belonging to Julia that wasn't taken as evidence. But if it had been, it would have given the cops enough evidence to put Jason away for good. But unfortunately, they never bagged it.
Yo, what's going on? Don't record me right now.
Okay.
Promise?
Every time you hear a sentence, like a recording that starts with "Don't record me," it's very entertaining.
Yeah, I'm not recording you.
I'm the one who had to connect to get the GHB, and we got it from this fucking gorgeous DJ. Her name was Lisa Kensington, right? So I bought it from DJ Lisa Kensington. And remember, I almost died from this shit.
Yeah.
Why would you go into this much detail? This sounds like a work. I bought it from this DJ. Her name was Lisa Kensington, right? I bought it from DJ Lisa Kensington. This sounds like a fucking work to me. I don't know about this.
Getting her to drink that shit or to sneak that shit on her, that's not killing her. That's not intent to kill. Is it called manslaughter? The one thing I never revealed that I just told you is that I had to connect to get it.
Alex also shows the FOIA of the court proceedings containing Zoltan's full testimony, where he claimed that by the time Zoltan and Julia got to Jason's apartment, he was already taking GHB, got them to do it, and then while Zoltan was passed out, Jason had oral intercourse with Julia, as had been previously stated. With this much new evidence being put on display, the documentary received plenty of acclaim. However, it didn't have much of an effect on MrBased's career. After all, he had built an audience off of being a complete degenerate. Why would it really affect him in any serious manner? In
Well, that's the thing, is like a lot of the people that are viewing this, they just want to see the drama. They want to see people suffer. They want to see Josh suffer. They want to see this guy suffer. So of course they're going to keep watching. They're it's like hate watching, but the hate is the content basically. So that's kind of like why I'm really concerned for Josh. Actually, is that people are just going to be out there looking for him wherever he goes and live streaming. So you're always going to be able to find him. There's no way he's going to have a stream delay or anything. They're going to find him. They're going to press him. They're going to tell him to put the froze in the bag. And eventually he's going to hit the wrong person, and then it's over for him. He needs to leave the country, but he's probably not even in charge of this trip. Like his so-called friends, those little parasites that are living their lives off of his back or whatever. They're going to want to see him suffer, and that's the content. But they're going to end up getting him killed or something, and then the content stops for them. So then they move on to something else. We'll have to see how this turns out, but I don't have a good feeling about this.
November of 2024, Jason then pled not guilty to all charges of assaulting Alex except for one, causing physical injury, which got him time served and a small fine. But if every single crime committed so far wasn't enough, within weeks of being released, Jason went on stream with Josh to announce the Josh Block coin, claiming that Josh would never drink alcohol again if the coin got valued at $1. The person running the coin operation was Carl, who held all of the coins prior to their release, and if it wasn't clear to you yet, this is what's called a rug pull. They launched it on stream, whispering to each other about how they would dump it as soon as it went up. While some people were goofy enough,
These are the stupidest criminals I've ever seen.
to put their money in it, almost everyone knew from the get-go that the coin was a total scam. The funniest part of it is that Jason was the one who ended up getting scammed, as when the coin was launched, a major coin holder, who Jason believed to be their friend, Eric, sold about $70,000 worth of it, absolutely tanking it before they could do anything. He gets so irate over this that he started screaming at everyone in the room, including Josh. But, perhaps clinging to the hope that somehow it would still get pulled off, he went on promoting it, but to no avail.
We're not even doing anything. We're trying to figure out how to launch a coin. Get out! Stop it, Josh.
I want them to leave.
They're not in my house. Stop it.
Yeah, they're outside.
Yeah. Who cares?
Unfortunately, there really isn't a satisfying end to MrBased's story. He didn't get hauled off to prison, and he didn't lose his grip on Josh Block's online presence, as he continues to regularly stream with him and make tons of money off of him every week. And there's seemingly nothing anyone can do to stop him, at least for the time being. You never know when he's going to start up another quote-unquote business that relies entirely on illegal activity and finds himself back at Rikers Island. But more importantly than Jason suffering, we can hope that Josh Block is at least getting paid, since he's the one people really want to see. Until next time, I've been Turkey Tom. Thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.
That was a good video. Good video. So this is about a month old. So this is fairly recent information. And as we were just checking, it looks like Josh is still going around Japan, and he's currently drinking and getting so. If you're a World of T-Shirts fan, he'll be drunk in about. And wait, how old is this? How old is this video? He posted 2 hours ago, so he's arriving at Tokyo Station about right now. Right now, Josh is drunk, and he's going to walk out of Tokyo Station. And he's going to go cause problems. So there'll probably be more things to talk about tomorrow. We'll have to see. I'll probably be following up on Josh to see what happens during his time in Japan. I'm also kind of very interested to see what's happening with these nuisance streamers, the Meiwaku streamers, as they're called over here. Invite Josh. Now, we've only got one Josh in the stream, I think. But it's a very sad story, and I think it's going to have a very sad ending. And all of these parasites, they're probably not going to get what's coming to them. This guy, they're going to use this guy up, spit him out. He's disabled. He can't look after himself. And then they'll move on and probably do it again with somebody else. We'll have to wait and see, but probably not going to have a happy ending on this one. But I hope this was a happy start to your day. I think that's all we got for you tonight. If you have any more news or things, be sure to send them my way. And we'll be back later in the week with some more streams. I know most of you people watch, you could say, like if he comes around my town, maybe I'll give him a warning, but what can I do? Like I saw he was in Kyoto, so I thought he might be heading to Osaka, but look, he's back in Tokyo already. So I was thinking about going up and warning him, but I think that if I gave him that warning, the haters would just use it to actually get these things to occur to him. It's probably better that they don't know about it. You know, it's kind of like, what can you do? I don't know. Maybe we can send Max out to go save him, since Max is in Tokyo. But I suppose if you're in Tokyo or Japan this week, he's probably looks like he's hanging around Shinjuku, so maybe you can go and get your $50 photo with World of T-shirts while he's still alive. We'll have to see. Sad state of affairs? Yeah, I think so. I think so. I'm pretty glad that we'll go to the World's Eclipse, see if anything's happened here recently. Any new things? No. There's one other guy I'll check. I'll just check. Johnny's. Let's see this guy. If you're interested in following these guys, and not just World of T-shirts, but if you're interested in seeing like the scoundrel foreigners and them getting their comeuppance, there's this guy, Cancel Johnny's, and he's basically a dedicated A-log who's trying to take out every IRL nuisance streamer in Japan. And he posts daily updates. It's in Japanese, but you can translate it pretty easily. And he's where I got these clips of these guys getting beaten the fuck up with a bottle, which is very funny. I can only assume that the beatings will continue until morale improves. So that's where we stand at this point. It's based. Yeah, it is a bit based, isn't it? All right, guys. I think that's it for me tonight. Have a good one out there. See you later. And peace. Peace.